Welcome back to the Retro Wave. I am your host, El Tiburon, aka Retro Tiburon. And this episode, we're talking our favorite N64 games. Let me introduce my guest first. The Professor Tylord Stevenson. What's going on, Tylord?
Hey, buddy, glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me once again.
Yeah, and always, you know that. And
Uh,
a first-time guest to the podcast, a fellow YouTuber, Moxey from the Moxey Productions YouTube channel. What's going on, man?
Not much. I'm glad to be here. I'm not surprised that you picked me to be a guest on this one. Coming with the N64 collection, I think you picked the right person. We do some gaming videos. We do live streams for our Dungeons and Dragons group online, and basically a podcast of that as well. We just like to do very different things on our channel. We do controller mods, opening up consoles and cleaning consoles and stuff like that. We just do everything nerdy and keep up to date with it, or go back to the future and enjoy the old stuff too.
Yeah. I was gonna the reason, well, the way I found out about you was because I think you and I kind of started the YouTubing stuff kind of around the same time. Like I remember seeing you kind of like at the same sub count as me. We're still kind of like we're small scale, but we kind of started at the same time, and we would drop by each other's live stream or leave a comment here and there. So yeah, very cool to have you on here.
The time difference was quite big for you and I. There's a 3-hour time difference, and when I first found your channel was when I was doing the snow plowing, which I was telling you about before.
Oh, that's right.
And you were like, it's like 9 o'clock at night, and I was like, man, it's like almost midnight here. Because I live in like north of Toronto in Canada, Ontario.
Oh, okay. So you switched jobs.
Oh, I have a different job now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I know Tylord, you've checked out his Resident Evil stuff, right?
You have,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I stopped by. I try to stop by his streams when I can.
Face to the name.
There you go. Now you know who Tylord is.
Yes.
So before we even start talking about the Nintendo 64, Moxey sent me a link to his YouTube video, kind of showing his collection. So we're gonna show it off here on video. All right, let's see.
And here it is.
Add. All right, let me see how this works. Doing it live here, folks. Hold on.
Flash in the edit.
Flash. Yeah, this is why I do not do this live. Hold on, let me see. Here we go. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's check out Moxey's game room right here.
Yeah, so all the posters that are on the wall, this is the room that we're in. Those are all from Nintendo Power magazines. That is a Jeffrey from Toys R Us.
Yeah, that's cool. They're back now, though, right? Toys R Us,
Toys R Us is back in Canada. Yep.
Oh.
That's the couch I want. I'm jealous of that.
Oh, wow.
That's Giga Couch. That is 2 sectional couches I put together with an ottoman.
Yeah, that looks comfy.
My wife's on it right now. Is it comfortable?
Yeah,
It's comfortable.
I hate it, but I love it.
Yeah, so some old McDonald's toys, and they're all working and stuff like that.
Big Pokemon guy, right?
I was at one point. Obviously, when I was younger in the 90s, that's when I was initially growing up. Pokemon was everything to kids back then, and it was just everywhere. And I started collecting more and more Pokemon stuff, but I actually ended up selling all of my Pokemon cards, and I was able to use all of the money to put a decent down payment on my car.
Oh, excellent.
Hashtag adulting.
Yep. So this is the couch. I'm pretty sure.
If Tylord and I are ever in Canada, we can crash on that couch, right?
I think we've had a total of like
At
3
the
people
same
crash on it.
time. No.
Yeah, at the same time.
Yeah, literally the same time. You guys won't even touch.
Man, I always wish I could find like some of those old school posters you would find in the magazines, the Nintendo Powers.
So I own all of those Nintendo Powers, and I'm not gonna pull them out, but I own them all. And I pulled out all the magazines or all the posters out of those magazines to do that.
Oh, the classic right here. Ninja
Oh.
Turtles.
Is that the arcade 1-up or is that a little tiny thing?
That is an arcade 1-up.
Oh, excellent.
So this is probably the shelf here that you see beside me. That's like the Zelda Sanctuary.
Yeah.
I sold all my NES games and just kept a few, and then went on to the Super Nintendo. Decided to keep those. I went on a Switch binge at one point.
It's the good thing with
Yeah.
the Switch, right? They're tiny cases, so you can fit a lot in.
So this
on
is the
shelf.
N64 collection. This would be it. So
Yeah.
they're
Oh, there
all
you
the
go.
ones that are below me, those are all complete in-box games.
Oh.
You have a complete set? N64?
I'm missing 2 games. And only 2. I am missing Stunt Racer and Super Bowling.
Damn. I thought you were gonna say like the what is that one? Clay Fighter? The director's cut?
Oh yeah, that's just like a special exclusive game. Yeah, like everybody bites all over that game. It's not even that special, but Stunt Racer is actually like a really good racing game. But then Super Bowling is one of the worst forms of bowling ever. And the problem is that Stunt Racer is about loose 600 American, and Super Bowling is at about 1,000 American now. Loose,
Oh,
like
damn.
loose cartridge.
Oh shit.
When I did collect all of it, it was much cheaper at the time.
So you've been collecting that ever since like around the time they were released, or?
I kept everything from when I was young, so
Okay.
I'm a single child for my family, and I got to keep everything that I had. No
Oh, excellent.
siblings or anything got to destroy it, and I never felt the need to get rid of any of it either. So I just held on to it, and I was sitting probably at about 60 some odd games when I got really serious into it, and then I went full tilt.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Excellent.
Very
Wow.
cool. Very, very cool collection right there. Right. This is your like your basement, or is this like a
Yeah, it's half of
additional
my basement.
room? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. All
Wow.
right. So yeah, thanks for showing that off. So before we go to our top 5 N64 games, Tylord, I'm gonna start with you. Just memories of getting your N64, your first ever N64.
Well, I kind of feel bad about it because I was always a Nintendo kid. Like I was like a fanboy for Nintendo. Like I always talked crap about Sega and all that. But then when that PS1 came out, I saw all these games that weren't going to be on N64, like Street Fighter, and I saw that Resident Evil game and those Twisted Metal games, and the controllers and everything kind of reminded me of a Super Nintendo. I go, oh man, So I kind of like turned my back on Nintendo. So I was all about PlayStation from then on until my little brother, who was around 6 at the time, got an N64 for Christmas, and he was playing Mario Kart, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like looks better than anything on." I mean, they both have areas where they shine each console, but that Mario Kart 64, like there was nothing. I can't think of like racing games that look like that on PlayStation 1. And the Mario game, the Mario 64, like the level, the 3D big environment, like, and how Mario moved around so fluidly, and it wasn't all jiggly like Jello, like PlayStation. Like, man, I think I made a mistake. So then I went back to my true love.
Very cool. What about you,
Yeah.
Moxey? Memories of getting your first ever N64.
Well, my birthday's on Christmas Day, and coming from the single parent family, and being the only kid, there was only ever one big gift a year, and that was it. Birthday and Christmas all rolled into one. So the Nintendo 64 was one of the biggest launches that Nintendo had, and I got mine with the Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time. And this is
Oh.
the guidebook that I had when I was young. The spine is just depleted. The chords and stuff like that have songs written on them by me from when I was a kid. The pages are almost falling out of this thing. It is just wrecked. And it was a game that my mom and I sat down. She would use the guidebook, I would play the game. And it meant a lot to both of us, where I had a lot of hard time focusing. This was something that really helped us come together and enjoy some quality time. Now, when it comes to all those super like extra Nintendo games, like the Super Mario, the Super Smash Brothers, the Mario Kart, the Diddy Kong, and all that stuff, every single one of the games that was created by Nintendo themselves were just rock star games. There was a lot of filler on the N64, and you only found that out so much later.
Yeah.
One game that's particular to me is Conker's Bad Fur Day, because PlayStation 1 came out and none of us were even teenagers yet, so we weren't interested in what they had to offer. But Conker's Bad Fur Day came out, and if you guys know anything about Conker's Bad Fur Day, about this menace of a squirrel up there getting drunk and getting into all kinds of mischief, it was one of the only games on here that was rated M for mature, and it meant it. It had curse words, blood, gore, you name it. Sexual innuendos, you name it. It had it. And for kids our age, seeing teddy bears and squirrels do like war combat was the most hilarious thing that could have ever come out. So we were addicted to that game probably more than anything else. That was I still think the greatest multiplayer game that came out on the console is Conker's Bad Fur Day. And even its single player just blows it all away. When it comes to other memories, though, yeah, Smash for the first time, having Nintendo characters all like in a group beating each other up, you yelling at your friends. You can't do that. That's cheap. You can't do that. It was the first time a game like
Doing
that
the same
really...
move over. Was it like you're just doing the same move over and over and over?
Yeah, too bad it's good. Yeah, having a brand new game like that introduced outside of the classic fighting games, because there was your Mortal Kombats, there was your Tekkens and stuff like that. But this went from that 2D one-on-one fighting to a very 4D environment with a lot of creativity that could happen. Nintendo gave it all of its assets and they went to town on it. So
yeah. I think for me, I the first time I played the N64, I think a friend brought it over to my house. And I was kind of like what you guys were saying. I was in my teens already. So, I had the Sega Genesis. So I was like, ah, man, Sega Genesis, that's for the big kids. The Nintendo's for the little kids. So when, the PlayStation came out, I was like, I want the PlayStation. Like that has the wrestling games, it has twisted metals, the gory games. I had zero interest in the Nintendo 64, like zero. I was out on Nintendo. And then my friend brought it over one summer and I was like, this is a fun console. This is like it's just fun. What Nintendo usually gets right, right? Like they make fun games. Um, so that's why I got it. Like I don't even remember where I got it but I just remember my friend bringing it over and I was like, I want a Nintendo 64.
I really think it tuned up the aspect of going from all consoles as 2-player consoles to 4.
Yes.
That's where
Yeah.
it really made a difference.
Was it the first one that had the 4 ports? I think it was, wasn't it?
I think it was the first console to go along and have 4
Yeah,
ports.
yeah. It really played on that.
That's the main reason I wanted the console,
Yeah.
what you said, Moxie, because I remember with the Genesis, I had like the multi-tap, which I
Yep.
think was made by EA, and you just stick it on there, and I would play like General Chaos with my buddies. So the 64 already had the ports, and you're like, oh crap, you can just play a bunch of games 4 players. So you're right on that. That's what the main reason I wanted it, because of the 4-player aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yep. So let me before we go on, because I know this system, like it almost feels like it gets like made fun, like it's not held in the same regard as like SNES, right? Or NES. Some people will say this is like Nintendo's, well, I guess the Virtual Boy, but the Nintendo's like home console that was the first dud, the N64. Is this where would you rank this one, Moxie?
This is considered the first low-selling console for sure, and it's for 2 reasons. The one is that your competitors at the time that were coming out were one PlayStation and the other one Dreamcast and Sega. Dreamcast and Sega also had terrible numbers compared, but the biggest transition between the two was going from cartridge to CD-ROM, and CD-ROM had almost 10 times the memory
Yeah.
out the gate. They could access so many more games. They could put UMD video on it. They could put other resolutions and highlights onto it. Any games that needed extra data, you put another CD in there. A big thing about the N64 that becomes the failure that you don't know about or you never hear about is production cost. To produce a CD case with a CD inside, the overhead cost on it, other than your licensing, was so low that competitive games didn't want to register with Nintendo, because with Nintendo, you had to pay for cardboard box art, instruction booklet, registration booklet, the interior sleeve that held the cartridge, the plastic cartridge, and then also knowing that the memory cartridge straight like data that it could hold inside was roughly like 1/8 what you could do on a CD.
Mhm.
So you had a large production item like this versus a low production plastic CD case, which when CD-ROMs and like how big were CDs that just went into like a Sunrise Records, like CD cases were dirt cheap. They were being produced massively all over the place. So
Yeah.
getting a CD-ROM case was really cheap compared to having to use Nintendo's formats, Nintendo's logoing, and the way that they produce the games for the console.
Yeah.
So with that, if you guys didn't know, did you guys know that StarCraft 64 was made for this console?
Yeah.
StarCraft. I didn't know that.
StarCraft 64 was one of the biggest failures on the N64 because it had to compete with 2 consoles that also had it. PlayStation 1 and the better and best version, the PC. So at the same time, internet gaming was starting to come along, and PC was also something that Nintendo 64 had to compete with. So not only that is that the superior games were on another console, game makers had to try to format how you played on a PlayStation controller or a PC to this.
That's a
You
good
went from those other controllers and had to format your game to this thing.
That's a good point. Do you like that controller? Yes or no, Moxey?
So when I was 6 and didn't know any better, or about like 11 and didn't know any better, of course this was great. It had more buttons on it than anything I had ever experienced. As an adult, I know that the thumbstick is trash and you need to change that out. But in the future of today, I want to show you guys something else that's really cool. So this is the gray N64 controller. This was it in its original box. Enter today, where the Brawler gamepad for the N64 has been created. Now tell me if you guys have ever seen this thing.
Yeah,
that's
I've
nice.
seen that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've never seen one personally, but I've seen them on like the internet, and they look lovely.
That's not Hyperkin, right? It's like another third party, right?
It's just Retro Fighters. It's
There you go.
just made by Retro Fighters, and I also have one of the see-through blue ones. So they went with all those like fantastic colors as well. And yeah, so this is the box for it for the Brawler 64. Now this is such an upgrade of comfort when it comes to the actual the format of the controller. I get why they did it this way back when, where they thought people were just going to do 2D games this way and 3D games with this. It made a lot of sense at the time, but I think they just kind of fell off the deep end, kind of like with this one.
What says you, Tylord? You like that controller? You want to show off some of your controllers?
Oh, I just have the orange one that and I have this Repro one that's actually really good. But I don't know this thing. What I don't like about it is it's just kind of awkward and clunky and hard to store it. But as far as like functionality, I love this thing. I kind of would have preferred the PlayStation or the Super Nintendo style controller at the time, but now that I played a lot of N64 games over the past couple of years, and I don't have any complaints with this thing anymore. Like Moxey was saying, you can do the 2D games like this, and that kind of made me wish there was like a Street Fighter on N64, even though they're kind of tiny buttons for a big fat thumb. But of course you can do the 3D games the 2D games like that, and then switch your thumb over here for the stuff like Mario, like the 3D platformers. But then another thing, not too many people talk about this, but it like you can actually play modern style first person shooters with this. If you change your right thumb over here, you can use this to look around on some games like GoldenEye and use the D-pad to move, and then you got a trigger back there, so it's like playing a modern first person shooter if you don't mind using the D-pad for the left analog stick.
Oh,
like
I
kind of like
I
that.
didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, you can most of the all the games the first person shooters I have, there's a option or a setup controller setup. I forget if it's A, B, or C on given game, but they all have a control option where you can do it like that. So right thumb here, but of course you have to reach over to like activate stuff on there. But most of the time you're just using the left trigger and the right trigger to shoot with. So for first person shooters, I think it's pretty darn good. Like you couldn't really do that with PlayStation or Dreamcast at the time, although PlayStation did eventually come out with a dual analog, which would have been great for first person shooters. I don't know if they had too many of them that used it. And then another thing, and then the memory cards in the slot. I don't know how I feel about that. Dreamcast did it too, and then Xbox went on to do it. I guess it's the only way you can have the cartridges. Some of them would hold the memory, or not this one, but like stuff like Zelda would have save states, or you could save.
I have a question then, because I
Yeah.
have a 64 and I
Yeah.
have memory cards, but I have them up on eBay.
Yeah.
Do you need a memory card for certain games to save like
Yeah.
settings
Yeah,
or something?
yeah, some of them don't have saves built in. Well, you have to use the memory card. Most of the games I play have it, but I know Castlevania, I don't think had it. Well, actually, a lot of the games I played, and I know Zelda's the one that does have it, right, Mox?
Yes, it definitely does. Where I
Yeah,
was talking about that that overhead cost when it came to producing
yeah,
the games, a lot of the games that tried to stay under that $30 budget would withdraw from having that RAM built onto the cartridge and stuff like that. You could
yeah,
do it, but a lot of Nintendo's first party games strictly came with it. But a lot of the games that came later on did not want to just
yeah.
include it because it was an overhead cost. It cost so much more money to produce the same game.
Hmm.
Where PlayStation, it was across the board. You needed the memory card.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what game or what company made it. It was standard. You needed the memory card.
Hmm.
They made it that way. It wasn't some do, some don't. It was all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's some games that I sometimes I'll go into the settings, change the controller, and then when I go back to it, it goes back to whatever the default was. And I was
That's
like,
a memory.
do I need the
All
memory
right.
card then? I probably do then, to
That's a
save
memory
the
card box.
yeah.
That's what you would go and get from the store.
But
Look
then
how
if you
big
put the
this thing is.
yeah, but if you put the Rumble Pack, then you can't put a memory card then, right? Or does
Nope.
Uh,
So
y-
if you went out and got yourself one of these,
yeah.
a rumble pack, which is nice and chunky, you could also not use it. So they made sure that games that needed rumble packs or had rumble pack feature did not need a memory card to go with it.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so
Good
that
to
makes
know.
sense for Zelda, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Star
Good to
Fox,
know.
Zelda,
Yeah.
lots of
Well,
those
all
first person ones.
right, so let before we go to our games, quick, Tylord, rank the N64 in your Nintendo consoles. Where does it fall?
Oh man, that's tough. There might be second or third.
After what? NES or SNES?
It's SNES. I don't know. I might put it alongside the original NES. I'll just, for the sake of this episode, I'll say it's my second favorite.
Moxey, where do you put the N64 and NES consoles in the hierarchy?
I wasn't ready for the question because the hard part about it all is that the Switch now does so many of the
Oh,
mainline features
I
for
forgot
those
about.
old classic games. Yeah, the Switch does so much to acknowledge those games with the online presence.
Mhm.
I think Switch is number one. Switch kills it. My problem is I love the old Game Boy Advance handheld, I think, a little too much, and it makes that number two. And then I think N64 comes third and SNES comes
Damn, that's pretty
fourth
big.
because of the impactful games that came out of the N64. Like Ocarina
Right,
of Time itself is the only
right.
game ever to be ranked at a 98. It is the near perfect,
Yeah,
untouchable game.
yeah,
Yeah. I think for me, N64, I think it was, not gonna lie, I think it might have been my favorite Nintendo console for a long time. I love the N64. And
Mhm.
when we go through our list, I think not for the same reasons you guys love the N64. I love it for different games, but
Mm.
I think the Switch is right up there for me. Like Switch
Yeah.
N64. The Switch is awesome because you
Come
can,
to think,
take
yeah.
it on the go.
Come to think of it, it might be the best console ever.
The N64.
No, the
Oh, the
Switch.
Switch.
The
Oh,
Switch.
okay.
Yeah,
You mean the Switch?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
If they had a higher processor built into it, like, did you know that the
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch even has like a cooling line inside it? Like, there's liquid inside that thing
Oh
Oh, I didn't
wow.
know that.
because the processor works so hard.
I
It
know,
was
like
all
doesn't doesn't only one of the processors work when you have it in portable, and the other one starts running when you have it in dock because it has a fan or cooling in there?
That's exactly it. Yeah, it's
Oh,
got a
okay,
fan
okay.
and an intercooler inside of it.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
that's
okay.
cool. I
It
didn't know
works
that.
hard. It works hard to be that
Yeah,
little
man,
perfect.
it's amazing. I've always loved stuff that like works beyond its capability. Like I always appreciated that consoles for releasing games that really shouldn't be on that console. And I've seen a lot of impressive stuff on Switch so far. Like considering how much weaker it was already weak compared to PS4, and now it's just like nothing compared to PS5. Or what?
Yeah, that's
And it's
true.
killing it. And like that's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
It is killing it. It is, I think, the second greatest, if not one of the greatest Nintendo selling consoles that there is now. I think
yeah,
I
I
thought it
think they
surpassed
broke
Wii.
yeah, yeah. I
Has
think
it
it did
surpassed Wii?
surpass.
it.
I'm not
Okay, so
positive.
the past Wii was 101 or 110 million, and I think the Switch is
Wow,
130 million now. And
wow.
it hasn't had a refresh. It's had the OLED. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe next year, right? That's the
It's got
word on the
it's got
street.
incredible support where all these third parties make all kinds of cool stuff for it.
Mm,
And it's got so much third party support, and I just think I do think it's Nintendo's like
yeah,
shining light. Like
yeah,
it's the best console they've ever made.
yeah. Which is nice because they didn't have very much third-party support for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah,
we're
Switch
gonna
is one. Like it's definitely there.
Yeah.
hard to argue. Hard to argue. All right. So we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and we're gonna come back and rank our favorite N64 games.
Who lives in the third dimension? You know who is in control. You know who has 4 times the action. You know who feels the freedom. You know who breaks the barriers. You know who stands out from the crowd. You know who everybody's after. You know the games of Nintendo 64.
We're back. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna rank our 5 favorite N64 games. We go from number 5 to number 1. So we're actually gonna start with Tylord first. So we're gonna go to Tylord's number 5 pick after this quick little commercial.
Do you know how to use one of these?
GoldenEye. Load a rumble pack and see how it feels when 007 meets N64.
At number 5, Tylord. No surprise. If you don't know Tylord that well, Moxey, but 2 things you should know. He loves GoldenEye. I mean, he loves 007, anything 007, and anything Jaws. So this is not a surprising pick. GoldenEye at number 5, Tylord.
Okay. Like you said, it's just so it makes me feel so happy this game was released because I've been a Bond fan ever since I was 6 years old. And taking nothing away from this game on its own without putting the Bond license on it, it's still like one of the most fantastic things of the time. But just being a Bond fan, and there aren't that many of them around here. I think they're all over in Britain or wherever, but like hardcore ones like me, just to have this game come out, and it kind of made Bond like mainstream again. Because it was kind of fizzling out a little bit with Timothy Dalton, who I loved. But when Pierce Brosnan came around with that GoldenEye movie, like it was the steam was rolling down the tracks fast. And then this game came out, and I think a whole new generation of kids started liking 007 because of this game. So I have to put it on my list just for that. I haven't really spent much time with a campaign. I've spent a lot of time doing the multiplayer. This isn't really my favorite Bond game. Like later on, there were some games I liked a lot more than this. But at the time, you'd never seen environments like this in a first-person shooter. Never seen anything this smooth on a console. Big 3D environments, fast-paced game. Yeah, but this brought and the full player. We were talking about earlier, the 4-player. The 4-player ability. You could do the 4-player couch co-op split screen, which was freaking fantastic. Like at the time, and I know all that stuff has gone away now. It's all internet now, but back then when we didn't have internet, that was so cool to have 4 people playing one game at once, like battling it out. So all the Bond references in here, I have to put this game in here because I love GoldenEye the movie, but like Moonraker is one of my favorite movies of all time. And the last after you beat the game's campaign, there are 2 more bonus levels, and it's based off of Moonraker, like a continuation of Moonraker. And it's set like in South America at a pyramid, like with a Moonraker launch. Like, oh man, like you can't believe like they actually made a game based on Moonraker and it has sets from Moonraker in it. And it has characters from the Bond movies. It has like Jaws and Oddjob, the guy who was hard to fight with because he was short. In the movie, yeah, in the movies, I don't think he was that short. He's a pro wrestler, that Harold Sakata. He's probably 5'10" or something. He looks short compared to Sean Connery, but in the game, he seemed really short for some reason. Yeah. So, and then Baron Samedi, and all the characters from GoldenEye were in it, just like a real tribute to like Bond fans. But getting back to like the game though, I think it's still like I downloaded it on my or didn't download it. I guess you downloaded it. I have it on Game Pass for Xbox. I still think it plays very well and it feels very smooth. I was playing it on my N64 the other day. It still feels smooth. My brother-in-law, this was his favorite game. He unlocked everything. He played on all difficulties, so I have everything unlocked, so I could play any level. I don't think I could have beat the game on the hardest setting ever. I probably can't even do it now. And yeah, I guess it was some nuggets of information here. It was conceived as a rail shooter by the Rare developers to be something like Virtua Cop, like on-rail shooter. But then I guess they met with the GoldenEye movie set, or they met with like Eon Production, and they gave them the go ahead to add story to the movie, to expand the movie into a game. So they could turn it into like a big first-person shooter. And I wouldn't even know something like that was capable. Something was capable of being like that at the time. Like with all the big environments and all the guys running around it. Like I said, it feels really fast-paced. I know like it doesn't look anything special now, but just as far as how it plays, there's probably on par with anything now. And then like Moxey was saying about Zelda, the Metacritic on this one's through the roof too. This is like at 96 on Metacritic. I think that's with the critic and the users. Anyway, I guess it's the 3rd best-selling N64 game.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Third best.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of fun times. Like I said, didn't play the campaign much, but when my brother had the console back then, we would play the multiplayer so much. Like all games are like that now, like Call of Duty, and everyone wants to play all these battle, like first-person shooty games. But this was like the first one, like the mainstream, like the average person could get a hold of back then. I know probably PC games had stuff like Day and the Defeat, or what's the other one, the Half-Life engine.
Unreal or Doom?
No, what? Yeah, I don't know. Did Doom have stuff like that, like the 4-player battle? I was thinking of the one that was the Valve one. Counter-Strike, yeah. Yeah, but
Counter-Strike and
yeah, but
Quake
I didn't have
2.
a PC and I didn't know anyone that had PCs that could run that stuff. So having this thing, like, wow, like there had been nothing like that before. So I have to put this game on my top 5 list.
I'm surprised this wasn't number one.
Yeah. Well, maybe
Be
if I spent more time, like if I went through and beat the game on hard, I would probably place it higher. But like it's kind of a tough game for me. Like all the weird objectives, like I can only beat it on like easy. Later on, I could beat the Bond games on hard and all that, and it doesn't really feel like a Bond movie. It feels like you're Rambo, which is cool also.
And any thoughts on this one, Moxey? GoldenEye?
No, he's right. It came out and it became one of the fundamental games for being a first-person shooter. He's totally right. It broke a lot of ground because you had stuff like Wolfenstein, you had Counter-Strike, and you had these large PC type engine games running, and it never was this sit down like split screen. It was very war campaigny, and this made it very intuitive to somebody that you know. It made it character based and you were allowed to play those characters, and it made it so that people got this new wave of first person shooter, this direct analog, because the N64 is also the first controller to ever introduce the analog stick outside of, I really think it was the first one to introduce the actual analog stick instead of the D-pad. So it really, outside of arcade units, it made it the first analog at home. I'm not surprised. Rare, if it wasn't Rare, it was Nintendo that was making the game for the N64. If it wasn't one of those two brands, the game had a soft chance of performing well. And anything that Rare put its stamp on when it came to the N64 was criminally good. And knowing that they were allowed to use all the assets, like he said, that they got to pull stuff from all assets of James Bond and all references and all characteristics of it, really put the ice on the top.
I think this was probably second first person shooter I ever played. I don't even know if Zero Tolerance on the Sega Genesis really counts, but I guess I'll count it still. But this was the first one I remember before. I'm a big Halo guy, but before the Halo LAN parties and Xbox Live Halo late nights, it was with my buddies. It was GoldenEye. It was like, hey, proximities only, whatever, golden gun. Like, man, so much fun playing this game. I'm almost afraid to go back and play it because I kind of want to leave my memory of that game there.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin it. You don't want to ruin it like you had He-Man ruin it for you.
Yeah, like when I watched He-Man in my 20s and was disappointed that I watched that as a kid. But I've heard mixed reviews of that. They released it for the Switch, right? And they released it for the Xbox, like you said.
Yeah,
like, maybe I shouldn't touch it. Maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, no, it's still really playable. It's super playable. It almost feels like something like from a generation ahead of that, like something that would be on PS2.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, good. But I think
imagine that game came out with a dual analog stick.
Oh
and a the R1 and R2 triggers, and you were able to do like a fast flip around and stuff like that. That game would have rocketed out into space. It would have been gone. If that was allowed to be out on PS2, it would have been over.
Yes.
So fun. It's so crazy because it was split screen. I think now when you play shooters, we're also used to, we have our own screen now. Back then you had to share the screen, you know?
Everybody shared 5 inches of your 20-inch CRT.
Hey, well, we had the time of our life doing it. No complaints. Now we're just spoiled. Now we're like, even when you have to play split screen on like a big ass TV, you're like, ugh, I have to play split screen. I have to share my screen with you.
Yeah, those 26-inch TVs seemed huge back then.
They sure did.
They sure felt like it when you had to move them out of your house.
Oh yeah.
All right, so yeah, good pick. GoldenEye, a fan favorite. I'm gonna go next. I'm gonna go to my number 5, but we're leaving Moxey as the last pick for a reason.
Sure.
But I'm gonna go to my number 5 pick now.
I can't believe this little Rudy Pucciabroni has stolen all the Rock's signature moves.
He walks like The Rock. He talks like The Rock. He's got the rock bottom, the people's elbow, the people's eyebrow.
That's gimmick infringement.
That ain't right.
He's even got the millions and the millions of The Rock's fans playing this video game. The Rock, know your role and shut your mouth.
Over 50 WWF superstars, all their signature moves and talks, plus entrances, cage matches, and create a wrestler. WrestleMania 2000.
At my number 5 pick, look, I'm gonna just say it right now. On my list, there ain't gonna be no Zeldas. There ain't gonna be no Marios. I don't think I ever played, to this day, a single player game on the N64 ever to this day. All my picks, like I said, I got this system because of the 4-player aspect, and that's all I would play on this console. To this day, that's all I own. I got WrestleMania 2000. Man, such a fun game. In the commercial, it mentions the create a wrestler. I think this was, well, maybe WCW Revenge did it, but this one was like really like detailed. Like you could give your guy an entrance, and then you could put like some of the WWE wrestlers music.
Mhm.
You could, it was like very, very like in depth, like the create a wrestler. But one that I spent a lot of time just creating wrestlers. I kind of wish I was it seems like Moxie, you don't really get rid of your stuff. I'm the opposite, where I'll just get rid of stuff, and then I'm like, man, I wish I wouldn't have got rid of that. I wish I could still have my original WrestleMania 2000 card, because I created so many wrestlers on it. Yeah. I don't know, Tyler, you got any thoughts on WrestleMania 2000?
I know I played it a little. I played more of Revenge and World Tour, the WCW games. I know it's the same engine, so I know it's fantastic. Like that's the best wrestling engine ever made, I think. And they used it in Def Jam Vendetta. Like I can't think of any wrestling game I enjoy playing more than that. It's just like the button layout just feels so natural. Like you can make them do like what they do on TV, with just like the run is the same button as Irish Whip, so you always know that button's for running, and then like the punch button is always for punching. So when they're running, you know they're going to do like a striking attack, like a drop kick or something, and then the grapple button, you know, you'll do something like a hip toss or a power slam, and then when you're in the lockup with a grapple, you know you'll do like a grappling type move. And then if you hit the punch from a grappling move, you know you'll do like a punch from the grappling. What else? And that one sounds cool because you can create a wrestler. I know on Revenge, like you could customize each individual wrestler, but you couldn't really make your own wrestler.
Yeah, you could like customize, but this one was the first one from this engine where you could like give your character like from head to toe, the move set, and of course you got to create yourself and make yourself the world champion. You know? Moxie, are you a wrestling fan or a fan of these games at all?
So, wrestling's not very big in Canada, by the way.
What? Isn't Bret Hart the prime minister?
It is a myth.
Of Canada?
You heard it. It is a myth.
Bret Hart's not a legend over there in Canada?
Not as much as you think. We have a sport called hockey, and I'm not even a big fan of that. So wrestling and wrestling games flew very under the radar for me. I know a few people who live and die by like a few of the N64 wrestling games. They said that they were awesome because I don't know the difference between WCW and the other brands, but they made, I think, upwards of 6 different games, something like that, like wrestling, specifically wrestling branded games. And people said that was one of them, that was one of the games that were just because did that game come out in 2000? Is that why it's called?
Around that time, because it was promoting the WrestleMania for that year, for 2000.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was already getting up there in age for the N64 as well. So they already had their engines down, like you were saying. They probably pulled assets from other places. They had all their filler that they needed and made a great title right there. I
Yeah,
do know lots of people who spent lots of time on the couch slamming their friends on the small CRT.
yeah, like you said, the assets, because the earlier wrestling games, they wouldn't have like the wrestlers entrance theme. I think this might have been the first one that, The Rock would actually come out to the Rock's theme, and
Yeah.
Stone Cold, you would hear Stone Cold's theme.
Yeah.
So it was just more it was getting more
Yeah.
refined. It was refined. Um, yeah, but man, I wish I would pay $500. Maybe not 500, but I would pay a couple $100 if I could have my cart back. But probably at some thrift store or swap
Oh, you
meet.
don't have the cart.
No, I would just get rid of all my stuff as soon as a new console would come out. I would
No,
just get rid of
he wants
everything.
his cart. He
I
wants
Oh,
want
your
my
his
cart.
cart.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
your
Because I would create, like, I'm telling you, I probably had like 20 wrestlers on there.
Oh, I
Uh,
see. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was,
that's a bummer.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but all I have is my memories.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go now to Moxey. Moxey's number 5 pick.
We believe there are 5 perpetrators. I've never seen anything like it. There's fruit everywhere. Look what they did to my taxi.
Donkey Kong is back in an adventure so big, it's taking the country by storm.
In reaction, the governor has called in additional troops.
We believe one of them looks like this.
They're just not civilized. We urge caution as they are heavily armed with fruit.
I'd like to tell you the situation is under control, but it isn't.
This turbocharged game has better graphics, more moves, bigger bosses, huge worlds. It's so big we included an expansion pack to get it all in.
They didn't even tip me.
And now, this. Donkey Kong 64. And you thought insanity was crazy.
Heaven help us.
At number 5, Moxey's got Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah, I sure do. So Donkey Kong 64 right here with the player's guide. Oh, wrong side with the player's guide here. Donkey Kong 64, I think, almost takes over Mario 64 for me because everybody loved that Mario 64. They loved it so much. And I get why. I get why the engine on it and the fluidity and all the assets of it were so good. But you know who made this one? Rare made this one. And Rare made everything good on the N64. So Donkey Kong took that style of 3D action platformers and didn't just use one character like Donkey Kong or Diddy Kong. You got, what was it, 5? You got Lanky Kong, oh god, I don't even know them all. Yeah, you get to play as 5 of them, and that really changed up the aspect of solving puzzles, defeating enemies, and stuff like that. But this was the game that came included with the expansion pack. It helped make sales so much larger for the N64 and included with the Green Jungle Pack N64. If you remember that big old bundle, the expansion pack was just a RAM upgrade, and this RAM upgrade only allowed for certain assets of this game to run better. You can run the game on the original one if you do a bypass, but some of the assets actually don't load. The RAM expansion was the way that the Nintendo had foresight at the very beginning of its launch, creating it with the initial small RAM pack and saying much later that they're going to make bigger games. We're going to get better, but they kind of rushed parts of it out. And the expansion pack came later so that they could continue to update their graphics later on as the console went on, and they just slapped it in with the game itself. I think Donkey Kong really was like a lot of fun when you weren't just collecting coins as Mario, you weren't just beating up regular guys. It really made a different environment that I think was a lot more fun than the Mario environment. I really liked that you could get like a cannon or like a gun and stuff like that. I really liked the movement and the way that the Donkey Kong crew moved better than Mario himself. I really didn't know too much about the Donkey Kong franchise even before that, where there was Donkey Kong Country. And just to find out on the Super Nintendo, those are some of people's all-time favorite games when it comes to 2D platforms. They say that those are some of the hardest but greatest 2D platform games. And I love that the asset came from that and got brought forward here.
What says you, Tylord? You a fan of this one?
I actually haven't played it, but I'm glad to hear him hype that game up because I just hear a lot of people trash and slag off that game. But it always looks cool to me. I don't own the game, but it's one now that I've been to 64 playing it a lot lately, it's kind of one I want to go revisit. I never actually played it in the first place because I know it's rare, and they did all the Banjo-Kazooies and Jet Force Gemini and all that and GoldenEye. So I assume it's fantastic. But I don't really have much experience with it other than when I used to at our judo class at the community center. We would go there, and I guess it was a nice place set up for the kids to come over after work, and all the tables were lined up with N64s, and they had a little TV on each of them, so all the kids could go to this rec center after school and play N64. It was a pretty neat setup now that I think about it. But I remember that Donkey Kong 64 was on there when we wouldn't really play, but we turned it on so we could listen to the song. And we thought it was funny, but it was cool though.
Speaking of that, do you know word for word, Moxey? That DK rap?
I don't know all of it. DK Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always hum it in your head. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can always
I
hum it in
missed
your head.
I missed out on this one too. I like I said, I didn't play. I don't to this day. I've never played a N64 single player game. But you're saying this is better than Mario 64?
It's that Mario 64 was all that, and it had everything, is what I'm getting at. Is it was the all that game. And I think that Donkey Kong 64 wasn't made by Nintendo, even though it was a Nintendo asset, Donkey Kong, but it was made and produced by Rare. They had a different take on the action platformer style. And I like that they took a chance with Nintendo's property and made something really cool out of it. And I like everyone likes Super Mario. Everyone loved that game forever. It's redeemed as one of the greatest games of all time. I just think I probably just liked the property better. And it was like my first introduction to it. I knew all the Marios before it, but I never had a Donkey Kong. So it was like a fresh asset to me.
You know, the first ever Donkey Kong game I've ever played. Well, I played the arcade, obviously, but like an actual just DK game was Tropical Freeze on the Switch.
Oh yeah,
and I love that game. So
People love that
it's made me want to go back, but play the platformers. But you're saying that this one's worth a look too. This one's a 3D platformer.
It's a fun 3D game. It's a fun 3D platformer game.
Okay, cool. Might have to add it to the list because I'm like, I want to go back and play the countries on SNES because I loved Tropical Freeze so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're gonna go to Tylord's number 4 pick now.
All right.
Tylord. God, is it Zelda or the Legend of Zelda? Ocarina of Time.
Oh, I'm sure it's The Legend. Yeah, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
That's your number 4 pick.
Yeah, I don't know. It should be my number 1. I just wanted to be different. because this was at one time, this was my favorite game of all time. It's still up there. It's probably still in my top 10, like video games, like all video games. Man, just great memories playing this. And I got off to a rocky start with this because when I first got my N64 later on, so it was probably around 2000 when this came out, right? Or 1998 when I got my my own N64. I probably had to sell my PlayStation to get it. But this here, I rented it at Blockbuster and I couldn't even find the sword, and I'm like, this game sucks. Like I thought it looked so cool. Like I can't wait to dive into this. Like I love the original Zelda on NES. Like that's like one of my favorite NES games. Like I still can go back to that. I go, this is going to be the same thing, but it's 3D. And then I got maybe just that point in my life, I was probably like 18 or 19, and I didn't want to deal with stuff like this. So I thought this game sucks, and I took it back. And I never played it until a couple of years later. My brother got it, and he started playing it. I'm like, wow, like you got this sword, like look at this game, like it opens up. And then my wife at the same time, I got her, or she was my girlfriend at the time, I got her an N64, and she got a copy of this. And I go, I got to get my copy too. So this game brings back so much fun memories. We were all playing this game, my brother, myself, and my wife. We were all playing it at the same time on different consoles, and we were exchanging notes. And we had the Prima guide. We didn't have that one you had. We had the Prima guide, which was a pretty darn good guide. We would be playing this, and we'd be around the same dungeons at the same time as everyone else. And man, this game opened up, and it was like playing the first Zelda again, all over again. But it's 3D, so like it's even better. It's just like such a perfect translations from the original Zelda to a 3D world. Like you could do so much more with this. And I know Mario's not into these type of games because you started with bad Breath of the Wild. No, I'm just kidding. That game's good. But this is like what Zelda is. This is like the formula of Zelda right here. And I think most of all adventure games in general have copied this ever since. I think it's like the peak of Zelda games here. So you got to play this, Mario. I know our buddy PWM just recently beat it for the first time, and he has nothing but great things to say about it. And he's like in his 40s, like I am. I played this maybe in my early 20s, and it stuck with me. Like I've only beaten it once my entire life. I try to go back to it, but it's such a long game, I can't get through it. But just that first time, and I don't even remember a lot of the puzzles or the bosses, but just that experience the first time, it still sticks with me as like one of my favorite games of all time. The typical Zelda formula: you're out in the open, you find a dungeon, you go in, there's puzzles in the dungeon, you find the compass, you find the map, the compass, the boss key, you fight the boss, you get well, the first one was a Triforce part, but in this one, I think you get a heart piece. And it continues the story. This game felt so immersive and big. The game is only 32 megabytes, which is like nothing, but it just feels so incredible how much was packed into 32. I think that was the biggest cartridge at the time could fit on this. The music, the atmosphere, the environment in this, such a grand adventure. You got to play it, Mario. I don't want to go on this too long because I feel like someone else is going to be talking like this about this, but yeah, just the great memories playing this with my wife, and it was like being a kid again at school when you're exchanging notes on the school ground about how to beat Zelda or whatever video game you're playing. It's like we had such a great time with this, and such an epic ending. Like I said, oh man, there's just so many layers to this game that are awesome. Like different time periods. Like there's time traveling in this. And like there's dungeons when you're a kid. There's like 3 big dungeons when you're a kid. There's like 7 dungeons when you're an adult. Yeah. So I can't really say anything. Yeah, great one. Yeah, and I know you can play this on Nintendo Switch on the service. It's on there, the $60 a year one, and it's available on GameCube. That's how I beat it originally, was on GameCube. So I guess I never actually beat the cartridge version. This is the one, my wife's version. She got all the way to the last boss, and she didn't want to beat it because she didn't have every single item. Like she's like a completionist, so she never beat it. My brother and I beat it. There was like a bottle of milk or something from a cow she couldn't get, and so she never beat it.
That's what you beat it on. Is the
Yeah,
Legend of
that's
Zelda
no.
Collector's Edition.
No, it was. I have that one now, but I had the Master Quest one.
Oh, you have.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I don't have it anymore, but that's the one I beat it on. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and I can't touch that Master Quest. That's freaking hard.
Thoughts on this one, Moxey, on Ocarina of Time?
Oh, you want me to go on about it?
Yeah, because I could tell from your background there for the audio listeners.
What's there
Moxey's
not to
got
say?
it's got
There's a
some
reason why
Zelda stuff back
There's a
there.
reason why it's rated the #1 game of all time, and no game has come to touch it. With a 98 score, it became fundamentally the greatest game, an immersive game of all time. And Link never says anything. It is so immersive that the main character doesn't say anything once.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that he shows no development in what he says, but it's all through the actions he takes and those he helps along the way.
Yeah.
The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time cemented itself as the greatest game of all times back in like 1997 or 1998, which is insane to think about. Where all puzzling aspects that came from the SNES, which came from Link to the Past, got a 3D render. And you know that the development of Nintendo and all the developers there just went hog wild on that game. Like I said, you couldn't get me off that game when I was young, and the spine of my book there is like falling apart. Loved it that much. So you said that's your wife's cartridge?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So what's funny about that is you have a gold variant, which is the more sought after one. The gray variant is the one that got bought at retail stores.
Yeah.
Gold variants are the collector's editions, which were released in 1999 and 2000. She ordered that on a Nintendo Power magazine,
Okay.
and that actually got shipped directly to their house.
Okay, I'm sure she just got it at GameStop used.
Maybe.
Because I don't remember her doing the, or I got it. Maybe I got it for her at GameStop. I was happy to find that because it took me back to the old original Zelda and Adventure of Link that were gold.
Yep, that's why they did recreate them like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's cool to know that though. That's like a special order type deal, huh?
Yeah, it was flagging off and it was doing so well that people couldn't get copies in the stores.
Oh, wow.
So Nintendo Power made like a collector's edition as well that you could go and just order it and it would get directly sent to your house as like a special flagged edition, and it was gold printed. And even the box had like a texture to it. The box has like a different like mine's far off in the back down there, and it's like a bland gold, kind of like all the Super Nintendo, like just the same as the Link of the Past. It was this bland flat gold. If you find the collector's edition box, it's very reflective and it has texture to it. It's much different.
Wow.
Game's no different. Outside looks different.
I did not know that.
Dude, if you've never played this, by the way.
You know what? I have yet. I feel ashamed. I feel ashamed of this. I have yet to become a Zelda fan. I the first ever Zelda game I ever played, like played through and beat, was Breath of the Wild. I played it. I didn't hate it. But you know when something just gets so hyped, like it's called the greatest game ever. A lot of people call it the greatest game ever, right? True or not true?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of people's favorite game. Even old school gamers I see put it at their top. Like, wasn't it even Happy Console Gamer that's like a totally old school type guy? All of a sudden, that's his favorite game.
I think it's because it takes the formula that you're talking about and ramps the idea of discovery, just like Ocarina of Time, and redevelops discovery. I think that's what it does.
Yeah.
It took that aspect of not knowing and searching every corner of everywhere.
Yeah.
And redeveloped that and recreated it. That's why.
So So I liked Breath of the Wild. Like I thought it was a good game. I think I was just expecting more, like it's being called the greatest game by a lot of people. So I was like a little let down because it I didn't get that vibe from it. Like oh, it was fun. My favorite part was like doing the hunting and doing the recipes. I think that's what I enjoyed the most.
This one's very
It-
different. This one's very, very, very different. It doesn't have a lot of that kind of like crafting and theory crafting in the game. Where he said that you go and you're going to go through your first 3 dungeons, you're going to like get these crests and stuff like that. You're bridging like the first major breakthrough of the game where you travel through time. And that's when you find out how much bigger this game actually is. It's not that you're just the kid. It's you're the kid and the young adult going back and forth through time. And Breath of the Wild, it just made a beautiful formula for those who already loved the game.
Yeah, that might be what it is. Yeah, it might be like if you already know about Zelda, this is something built onto it and different too, but you're kind of familiar with the foundations, so like you're just going with this.
This is reformatting the formula and going
Yeah.
forward in the modern day. That's what it is. And it structured it into a way that it has freedom and discovery as its 2 peak parts of the game.
Yeah. A big complaint was that it doesn't have dungeons, but if you think about it, it has like 100 mini dungeons, and then the colossal creatures, I forget what they're called. They're actually kind of like a dungeon, the 4 big monsters.
You'll never satisfy everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the complaint of the Zelda fans, though, that there aren't dungeons like every other Zelda has had dungeons, as far as I know, and this one just has the 3 big. What were they called? The 3 big titans, or the
Ocarina. You're talking about Ocarina or Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, 4 of them. Yeah, I'm talking about the one you played, Breath of the Wild.
I was gonna say, yeah, that you have the big, I don't know what they call them, the giants or whatever.
Yeah, they're kind of like dungeons, like inside of them. So those, I don't know where that whole dungeon complaint comes up, and then there's like 100 little mini dungeons all over the place.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was Tylord's number 4 pick. My next game, I don't think it's regarded as one of the greatest games of all time.
Oh, okay.
But we're going to my number 4 pick now.
It's WCW versus NWO World Tour. GamePro calls it one of the fall's hottest titles. Game Informer says it's the end-all, be-all of wrestling, featuring over 20 of WCW's and NWO's top wrestlers, a 4-player battle royal mode, and up to 40 moves per wrestler, including signature moves and foreign objects, all on Nintendo 64. Call now, 1-800-WCW-8661, or send $69.95 to the address on your screen. Also available wherever video games are sold.
Man, we're complaining about games being $70. This game was $70.
Yeah.
In 1997. Yep. WCW.
It's the price of cardboard, baby.
WCW versus the NWO World Tour.
I think I got that one too.
Yeah, this is, if you ever think about like if your house got caught in a fire, what would be some of the first things you'd grab? There you go. I
just have the card. Yeah.
I think for me, obviously the wife, my dogs, stuff like that. But then maybe I might run in and go grab my copy of WCW versus NWO. I think this is the first wrestling game that I played on the 64. This was the first one on the 64, and I just remember like being like, I got it. This was the one that made me get the 64. There you go.
Bingo.
I was like, I have to get a Nintendo 64 now. This was the system seller to me. Like before that on the Genesis, on the Super Nintendo, we had some fun ones. We had Royal Rumble, we had Raw by LJN. They were fun. I know LJN gets trashed a lot, but I thought those were fun. But this was like a next level. Like if you're a diehard wrestling fan, this was like the thing to have, especially during that era, Attitude Era, NWO era. Just remember playing this, like It felt like every day after school, my buddies and I, we would go, all right, we're gonna play WCW versus NWO for hours. And we got so into it, we would even do contracts. Like we thought we were like on Monday on WCW Nitro too. It'd be like, I want a title shot, but these are the stipulations, and then we would have to sign the contracts at school. Be like, you get a 10-minute match, 10-minute title defense. But so fun, man. This one had like, you had the NWO guys, but you also had Eddie Guerrero and Ultimo Dragon, Rey Mysterio, and then like some guys that were non-licensed guys, but I think they were supposed to be some Japanese wrestlers. They just didn't
Yeah.
want to get sued by using their name. But just this is the only game I have CIB for the 64.
Oh,
And
excellent.
honestly, I'm happy with just having this one CIB because I love this game so much. Moxey, you have it. You've played this.
I have not played it because, like, wrestling's not big over here. I'm telling you, there was a lot of filler on this console, like a lot. And when I said like there's 6 or 7 wrestling games, I got them just to have them because I wanted to complete the set. And completing the set means you get everything, whether you like it or don't.
Yeah.
Whether you played it or not. And I personally don't know the differences between the leagues, the regions, and whatever the franchises are, because I know that some of them closed. Some of your franchises, the most that I know about wrestling is that some of the franchises closed, some of them changed names at some points, and some new ones came along as well. And the scramble of lettering changes between the years, right?
Yeah.
And that's where like it starts to lose me. And it's not just this linear path that people sign contracts and jump from one to another, and then they can also fight sometimes, but then some fighters can't fight other. It kind of just was a little much to me. But I do own it, and like I said, I do recognize the fact that a lot of people loved all of the wrestling games on the N64.
Yeah. What says you, Tyler? What thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this was one of the earlier N64 games I got, and it kind of reinforced my decision of getting rid of the PS1 and getting a N64. Like, it didn't make me regret it as much. Like, man, because there was nothing like this. Like before that, and at the time on PlayStation, there were some wrestling games, but they weren't like this. This was like that same engine I was talking about. Is it called Aki, that company?
The Aki engine.
Yeah, Aki engine. Like, there was nothing like that. Like, we kind of gave up on there being good wrestling games that are actually like wrestling, that can be like a game that's competitive and fun. We kind of gave up on that, and we said, okay, we're just going to play these games that are not like wrestling, that they're still fun, like the digitized ones and all that. But this thing, like, yeah, this thing's just like, wow, this is like wrestling on TV, but they've made it to where it's like a fun, competitive little game. Like, you do all the moves, pretty much anything you see on them do on television, they could do it all. And all the wrestlers had different moves, and it was like the moves the wrestlers actually did in real life.
Yeah,
I just remember
usually you would have like on the LJN ones, like everybody had an elbow drop, everybody had a drop kick, everybody had the body slam, but like you said, in this one, everybody had their own moveset, which was
it's
crazy.
Like the benefits of like 3D games with like motion capture, like all the moves look like they're real wrestling moves.
Yeah, great game, and the 4-player aspect.
Yeah, that too.
You couldn't do that. I don't. I
no,
think you
I
might
don't
have been
think
able
so.
to do that on Raw, maybe.
Royal Rumble.
4-player.
Yeah,
I think maybe Raw. You could do it.
Oh, we could have. Yeah, at the arcade we could have done it with WrestleFest, but.
Oh, there you go, Wrestle. Yeah,
but that was that was like the first time it was done well on a home console.
Yeah, but this one was like this was the system seller, so I had to put it in my. This was like I had a PlayStation, and I was like, I don't care about the N64, and I was like, wait a minute, I can't have that on the PlayStation. All the PlayStation wrestling games suck. But there's a couple of decent ones, but they couldn't touch these N64 wrestling games.
Yeah. There was one called WCW, like World League
World
or
Tour.
something.
Yeah.
Was it called World Tour?
Versus the world, I think. WCW
Yeah,
versus
versus
the
the
world.
world. Yeah. But
Mhm.
that one wasn't quite as good as these.
It was, I think, the THQ also. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the blueprint almost.
Yeah, it might have
2D.
been like before they refined it or before they got it down.
Yeah, that one's not bad, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It wasn't WCW versus NWO
Right.
World Tour. All right. So you, as you guys know, like there's probably only gonna be wrestling games on this list. Just FYI. But we're gonna go next to Moxey's number 4 pick.
Do you have the skill? Do you have the speed? Do you have the coordination to be Pokemon Puzzle Master? Do you have what it takes to face your toughest opponent yet? The Wall. New Pokemon Puzzle League pits you against 16 trainers in Pokemon's biggest challenge of them all, the Wall. Can you master it? A legion of Pokemon say you can. New Pokemon Puzzle League, rated E for everyone, only on N64.
Number 4, Moxey's got Pokemon Puzzle League.
Puzzle League.
Yeah, Pokemon Puzzle League, where there wasn't very many Pokemon games even released for the N64, and probably a lot of people other than Let's Go Pikachu are going to debate that this is probably the worst one. It's just not for me because I remember playing this so much. I remember playing Pokemon Puzzle League till like my fingers would fall off. Do you guys know a game called Tetris Attack?
Yes.
Yes, I love Tetris Attack.
Yes.
Tetris Attack runs on the same formula this does, but I've never known what Tetris Attack was. So I fell in love with the idea of it, where you line up sets of 4, double combos, stuff like that. But it's all run with Pokemon and their trainers. So adults loved this game. Boys love this game. Girls love this game. Everybody I knew could sit down and play this. Having that tactile advantage and being better at Tetris Attack made it more fun. But the thing is that when Pokemon was so rampant, this game was one of, other than Pokemon Stadium games, this was the only other multiplayer one that just even featured Pokemon. And for some reason, this just became a hit classic. So if you guys know what Tetris Attack is, try to put Pokemon at the forefront of that, where you got to pick a trainer, their Pokemon to battle against and stuff like that. So anytime you would make like a combo and stuff, like your Pokemon would scream that they're going to make an attack at somebody, and you would drop blocks on the other person and put that pressure on. It was a really fun 2-person couch co-op game, like couch combative game, where Tetris was before, like baseline Tetris was before my time, but this game came in and introduced the idea of it with Tetris Attack and made it very mainstream with Nintendo and Pokemon backing it up. And I don't know, everybody that I was in a circle with played it, and we would just challenge each other and scream at the TV about it.
Is this, since we're talking about the N64 being 4 players, does this have 4-player? Like
No, it's only 2.
Only 2?
It's based on the formula of Tetris Attack. If you know exactly what that is, this refines it exactly like that, but it's just Pokemon themed.
I'm so pissed. I had this game up until a month ago because I really like Tetris Attack. And I never played it, so I'm like, let me just throw it on my eBay because I had this for years and I never played it. And I sold it, and then I saw, I think, a YouTube clip of how it looks, and I was like, man, I should have just kept it. I don't even care about Pokemon, but it looks like exactly like Tetris Attack, but just with the Pokemon characters. It looks fun. I was like, man, I should have just sold it.
And one of the really funny parts is you can change the length. So it's all voice acted. All the Pokemon are voice acted. All the trainers are voice acted. But you can go into the languages and change the way that they speak. You can make them Spanish. You can make them German. You can make them Dutch. You can make them all different things. So then, like, Giovanni can speak German and stuff like that. It is really funny. once you start messing around with it or make them French, it gets really funny.
I know Tylord's a Tetris Attack fan, right? And your wife, I think, right?
Oh yeah, we love that game. Like I don't know where we came across that game, but I guess we thought it was going to be like regular Tetris, and it wasn't. But like once you get into that style of game, it's so addicting and so fun. And you're like battling each other too. Kind of, I guess you could do that with Tetris, but I had no idea about that game, that Pokemon. I never even heard of it, and if so, I didn't know it was like Tetris Attack. So I got to put that one on my radar.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to buy it again because the reason I bought it, like, we're all married, right? So like my wife's not a big gamer, but every blue moon she'll get into like a game. But when my wife gets into a game, she will play it 10, 12 hours as Moxey, I think, looks at his wife.
I'm looking
So-
at her. I think my number 3 played game on the Switch is Animal Crossing.
Oh, nice.
I don't even know how. I don't even know when you played it that much. I literally don't even know where you found the time to soak that much hours into. It's at like over 100, and your place looks trashed.
Hey.
Over 100 hours on Animal Crossing, your wife has?
In Animal Crossing, and for the
Damn.
Switch, the new one.
Yeah, New Horizons.
But I don't even know where those all those hours even came from.
Hey, she's got to pay. She's got to pay those Tom Nook loans. That's why, you know.
Paid them all. That's the
Paid off.
paid off.
Yeah, but my wife loved Tetris Attack. Like when I don't know how we came across it, but I had it, and she played it one time like from 3 p.m. to 2 a.m. and her eyes were like, it was like this, and her eyes were red, and I was like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna go to sleep? No, I just have to want to beat this one. And I'm like, but then she'll be done with video games for like a year and she won't play again. So I'm gonna have to play this. I'm gonna have to buy this one again.
Yeah. What's good about her playing Tetris Attack so long is it had a lot of catchy tunes that would be on in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yep.
everything was introduced with Pokemon at the forefront of this. So the campaign idea of it is that you're starting with the lower trainers at an easier level and making your way through getting gym badges, going to the Elite Four, beating the rivals, facing Team Rocket and stuff. It had all the fundamentals that Pokemon had and crammed it into Tetris Attack.
Oh damn. Yeah. I like the animations too. Like while you're playing, it has the puzzles.
So
that you
good,
see
man.
Yeah.
If you had like a fire Pokemon, the bricks that would fall to your opponent were flames, like fire red bricks. If you had Pikachu, they would be like yellow with lightning in it and stuff like that. It was really good. Like really good.
I gotta get that. And as soon as I posted it, it sold. Like I didn't even have a chance to change my mind. I think it sold like in days. So yeah, it's probably a good game. Probably a sign I shouldn't have sold it.
It's a good cult following game, man.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, cool pick. All right, we're getting to our top threes. So we're gonna go to Tylord's number 3.
New York just got more dangerous. But for who? When? Hybrid Heaven, tough as hell. From Konami.
Number 3, Hybrid Heaven. Tylord.
Okay, so you guys probably have you guys played this?
I've never played it.
Okay, see, it never really appealed to me. I bought it because it was cheap at games. Back in the day, my wife and my brother and I would always go to GameStop and always buy the old stuff in the old bin, like the discounted stuff. So this is one of the games I got for N64 because we were still playing N64 into like the PS2 era. We did a lot of gaming back then. So we got this game, Hybrid Heaven, and once again, like Ocarina of Time, I put this thing in, and it starts off like a Metal Gear type game, and then you go to fight, and it's like turn-based. So I'm like, F this crap. Like, I'm not playing this again. Because back then, I didn't like turn-based. I like it now. But I was like, screw this, man. You go to like a fight, and it's turn-based. and I'm like, screw this game. So I put it away. I got rid of it, or I didn't get rid of it. I still had it, and I have the guide for it too. So I every once in a while I'd hear someone throw that name. I think a couple of my friends were saying, "Oh, it's pretty good," and I kind of wanted to try to beat it. So over the last couple of years, I said I've had the N64 hooked up a lot, and this is one of the games I had. I said, I bet there's something to this game. A lot of times, my favorite games are ones I come back to, and I figure out like once you get past that learning curve, or you get past like the beginning, like you get stuck, it can be like one of the best games you ever played. This was kind of on that level. This is like a Konami game, and I guess it was for N64, and I don't know if it was originally supposed to be a Metal Gear or it was like Nintendo's answer to Metal Gear, because it kind of plays like that. It's kind of like a stealthy you can do platforming, stealthy. So what the story is like you're going into this underground facility that aliens aliens have come down and they're trying to clone. It's the I don't want to explain the whole plot, but it's something along the lines of the aliens have come down and there's like some good aliens and some bad ones, and the bad ones are trying to make clones of humans. They're trying to clone the president and take over the world, take over the United States, take over the world. So you're going down in this underground facility that keeps going lower and lower. The bottom, I think the aliens are down there. So that's the plot of the game. It involves platforming. It kind of plays like Resident Evil and Metal Gear. You can shoot out cameras and stuff, and a lot of backtracking and puzzling, which stuff I like, stuff like that. I like Resident Evil. So at the time I was hoping this would be like Resident Evil, which when you get into combat, certain things you can shoot with a gun like in real time, but when you get to an actual fight, it goes to like a turn-based fighting game, like a one-on-one, and you're in an arena. And once I figured out, like I just a few years ago, I just learned to embrace turn-based. Like that's how I ended up finally playing and beating Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy X and Skies of Arcadia. Now I really like turn-based games. You just have to embrace the turn-based. But this game's kind of like a mixture of real-time and turn-based, because you fight. It really gets intense, and you get in your fighting stance, and you're in this arena, and you have a meter that's counting down. And once that meter hits the bottom or the top or whatever it is, you can throw a move. So you choose your menu. You can throw a punch. You can throw a kick. And the longer you wait, the more of these bars fill up. So you can do combos. So you want to move around and avoid the guy and get in there when you see an opening and throw your attack when the opportunity suits you. And that's when the game started getting really fun to me. And you could keep going, leaving the room and coming back in and fighting the same guy, so you can level grind, so you can build up more moves. You can learn more moves. Your moves get stronger. Like the roundhouse kick to the head was the one I kept using. So that move got really strong. And then you can do different moves like tornado kicks and a bunch of martial arts moves. But the thing you like, Mario, I don't have any wrestling games on my list. This game is chock full of wrestling moves. Like you can add them into combos too. Like you could my favorite combo was like doing a pile driver, like a sit down pile driver, and then get off of them and do a camel clutch. Like if you have 2 bars full, dude, it's so fun. And then you keep learning new moves as you go. I think you can do like Boston crabs and all kinds of wrestling moves like DDTs. But to play it safe, I'd always do either like the left leg kick and then into the roundhouse kick. But it's so fun. Like I just kept going back in rooms and just exhausting that room, because eventually they'll stop spawning. And I got my guy super overpowered by the end of the game. You go through all these really big environments, like puzzle, like mazes and stuff. It's pretty fun. It wasn't overwhelming. Like there's plenty of checkpoints. But you go down deep in this facility, it just gets really fun and addicting. By the end of the game, I think I just smashed the last 2 bosses without them like taking off much health at all. And I got a really good ranking at the end from all that grinding. But it was like a fun game to grind with, because it had that fun, real time / turn-based fighting mechanic. And I've never really played any game like that ever. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe Panzer Dragoon on Saturn might be like that, but I've never played that. kind of like a real time, like but turn based, like take turn type battling. And this game, one other thing I want to add, this game is set during Christmas time. Like at the end, you get out of the hole and you save the world, and you meet up with your girlfriend and you embrace underneath the Christmas tree in New York. So this is, along with Shenmue, Snatcher, and Yakuza, this is one of my favorite Christmas games.
It's a Christmas.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this one, Moxey? Have you played it?
I haven't played it. The very front of it really threw me off.
Yeah, it's very deceptive.
Really didn't know quite what to make of it. And like I said, when I was younger, these more Metal Gear Solid and more like adult games really flew by me, where I was just like, I'm not really into SOCOM. I'm not really into any of these type and stuff like that. I was very stuck on the Nintendo, but I'm glad that you found a lot of fun in it, and I'm glad that you found your fun in turn-based style games as well. It's so it was more like the way that I'm trying to get it is that you had an action bar that was growing, but when you got in combat, it was like the environment changed to like a 2D fighter.
No, it turns into like a 3D fighter, and it's like a 3D fighter, but you're in like you can circle around. You're on like a 3D field, so I don't think there's jumping. You can just circle around and get closer to them and back off. So when the guy moves, I think you can choose the block and you can build up your block, but you kind of, if you stay away, it's almost like fighting for real. Like it's circular and like you can go in and out.
The only game that kind of sounds like that is Power Stone.
Power Stone. Okay.
That's Dreamcast, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like that. It's 3D fighting, but they're more locked onto each other. So you like you can circle around the arena and get closer to each other. And I would always kind of want to come into like if I come into his right side, I'd want to attack his right leg. I don't know if like what the proper strategy is, but it was and then they had a meter too, so they would attack too. So you had to like kind of stay away or block, and you could choose to parry or defend on your when they'd attack, you would have an option too.
I was watching the commercial and I did see that Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff pile driver.
Yeah, that's one I would use a lot. It took off hell.
Yeah, I've never played this, and I saw a monster. Some of the monsters look
weird.
Yeah.
You fight monsters, and you fight like Agent Smith. Yeah, there's all kinds of monsters you fight, and then you do like the wrestling moves to the monster. It's so awesome. and I was gonna say, 11.13 megabytes was the game, so it's not that big of a game compared to like Zelda.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, the biggest game that they ever released onto like the actual cartridge was one that nobody thought could even be on the cartridge. Yes. Resident Evil 2.
Yes.
They thought that Resident Evil 2 was so big that there was no way that they could put it on, but they changed the UMD videos and also cut out some parts and some enemies out of the game to like make it fit.
Yeah, they compressed like the audio and the video.
Yeah, it's such a worse version.
Oh, I don't know. I'll get to that one.
you got Tylord super excited.
Yeah, I got to hear about how it's worse. Okay.
It's because it didn't have the space or the memory to do and compete with the CD-ROM, which had 10 times the space. It was infinite.
Yeah. No, the game is like almost a gig on PlayStation. This thing's 64 megabytes.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. That's crazy.
And they just crammed it full. They were just like, we've got to get it out on this. And they did. And I'll tell you, those sales figure matter. and think about it. If you are Capcom, you're doing a CD case with a CD-ROM in it versus like a full cardboard, full manual that has to fit Nintendo's parameters with their logoing, their colors, their scheme, and their cartridge and stuff like that. Like you have to work with them. There was so much of an easier, cost-effective way doing it on PlayStation.
Yeah, especially the little discs, like those can't cost that much. It's just like a little thin plastic disc compared to all the board and the plastic and all that.
That's true.
There was so much more that went into having boards and then plastic and then labeling versus just the CD-ROM, which was everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. All right. That was your number 3 pick. I'm gonna go to my number 3 pick now. Will it be another wrestling game? Probably.
Probably.
I'm in a zone.
Over 900 secret power-up codes. All new creative player option. 5 different players from all 29 NBA teams. New double dunks, alley-oops, spin moves. Over 50 hidden players.
At number 3, I've got NBA Hang Time. Man, I love this game so much. This was, I think, the first ever game I played on the Nintendo 64. I mentioned my friend bringing it over. It was actually like, I still remember that summer. It was the summer between middle school and high school. And my friend Angel, he would come over with his Nintendo 64. My friend Billy, Tylord knows Billy, he would come over. Our other friend Marlon, hours every day, NBA Hang Time, NBA Hang for just hours, 2-on-2. You know, we would go do that and then walk across the street to our elementary school and play basketball. Like, just so many fond memories. And this was the first game I ever played, and I was and for those of you that don't know, NBA Hang Time's like the sequel to NBA Jam. I think everybody just mentions NBA Jam when they think of the arcadey basketball. It's always NBA Jam. Sometimes I think they're talking about this game and they still call it NBA Jam.
Yeah.
Because NBA Jam is kind of like, you know, like the Kleenex. It's like the Nintendo, like how mom sometimes will call every system a Nintendo, even though it's PlayStation or Xbox, right? But this one, I've said it in the past, this one is better than NBA Jam because this was the successor. This one had alley-oops. This one had like spin moves. You could do like not only an alley-oop, you could throw an alley-oop, then that guy throws it back up to you, so you can do a double alley-oop. And so much fun. I this is one of the games. I think I bought this at a convention for like $1, and it's like the best dollar I've ever spent. It was just in
excellent.
a pile of like other like N64 games like Madden and I don't know, like NFL Quarterback Club. And I was like, how dare you guys put NBA Hang Time in that heap of trash? That this sports game does not belong with NFL Quarterback Club and those other trash N64 sports games.
Your NWO World Tour ended up in a lot of those too.
Yeah, the disrespect.
Yeah, no offense, but between the reoccurring sports games and then the reoccurring wrestling games, NFL games, soccer games, a couple of hockey games, I think, and stuff like that, it made up words of over 40% of the entire library or something like that.
Yeah. Have any of you guys played this NBA Hang Time?
I didn't. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Moxey. What do you think
just
about
briefly? Yeah, I'm not good at basketball. I'm not good at basketball games. That translates. Lots of fun though.
Yeah.
No, I didn't realize it was like NBA Jam until you. So I think I've seen you play it. I didn't realize it was that. I just thought if I would have seen that, I thought that was NBA Jam, but better or like a newer version of it.
Yeah, it's Midway. It's still.
So it's the same company.
Yeah, you think about it, they should have just called it NBA Jam.
Yeah,
and a subtitle or something.
I wonder why they didn't. Like NBA Jam, Hang Time, or something.
Yeah, but like you said, you guys are not really like basketball fans, right? NBA fans, but you guys probably Moxie's played it. He had fun. My wife likes playing this game. She doesn't
Yeah.
care for sports games, really
Yeah.
video games at all, but she has fun playing this one. Like,
Yeah.
just throw
Well,
her the
everyone likes NBA
ball.
Jam. Yeah.
Yeah, and, like it's like NBA Jam. Anybody
Yeah.
can jump in and play, but this NBA Hang Time is a little bit more intricate.
Yeah.
How do you say that word?
Yeah. You said it.
Intricate, something like that. So it's a little bit like if you're more of a gamer, this one's a little bit better than NBA Jam. But like my wife could still jump in. Your 5-year-old nephew could jump in and play. Like it's still anybody could play this game and have fun.
Oh, excellent.
NBA Hang Time, baby, and it would cause sometimes fights, or it almost cost some fights. You know, back in the day when you had to be like in the living room with that person and you're calling them trash, and you know,
Right to
you're
their
right
face.
there next to them.
Right to their face. Just the watch
Oh.
me do this. You're trash at this game. And then it's just like the buzzer goes off. You shouldn't have won. Or you're slapping the controller out of your friend's hand. You're messing up all their joysticks and stuff.
The thing with this game is, as we would say, you remember in NBA Jam, you can push, right? You can push the player.
Mm-hmm.
So you make them drop the ball. So in this one, sometimes you make up your own rules when you play games with friends.
Yeah.
And one of my friend Angel was like, no pushing. We can't push each other, only like regular steal. So we would be like, okay, and we would play clean all the way through. But then, like a lot of NBA Jam games, it comes down to the last shot.
Yeah.
To the last 20 seconds. So of course, my friend Billy would always push our friend Angel. In the last 20 seconds, we'd go down the court, hit a 3-pointer, and win. And it almost, caused Billy to get beat up a couple times.
And I guess you could do four players at once, right? So it'd be like bringing the arcade home.
Yeah, it was like 2-on-2.
Yeah.
I'm almost like disgusted when people talk about playing this on the Sega Genesis or on the Super Nintendo. I'm like, why would you play it on that? I played on the Nintendo 64, 4 players. Yeah, it kind of runs like molasses, also on like the 16-bit consoles.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
But that was not my number 3. We're going Tylords. Oh no, this is not. Oh no, we're going to Tylords number 2.
No, we're going my number 3.
Yeah, you don't have he doesn't have 3 yet.
Hold on, I got a button for that. Hold on.
We'll do it live.
Okay. You want to talk about starting fights?
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
All right, we're going to Moxey's number 3 pick now.
If you want to talk about a game that starts fights, this is the one.
Well, hold on, let me play the little commercial first, and then you can
go for it.
There you go.
Me and you and me, no matter how they toss the dice, and to be the only one for me is you.
Something's gone wrong in the happy-go-lucky world of Nintendo. Introducing Super Smash Brothers, where all your favorite characters go toe-to-toe in one 4-player star-studded slam fest, only on Nintendo 64.
Super Smash Bros. The OG on Moxey's number 3.
Yeah, Super Smash Brothers changed its entire dynamic of fighting style games. It took it from the 2D formula where people are on a single platform fighting one another with a health bar and changed it to percentage based and knocking them off a platform. If you didn't know about this game, there's lots of origins to it where the creator of the game himself actually made it based off of like Power Rangers characters. And that's how its original formula was made, about knocking these almost identical Power Rangers characters off the edge. And he said that the formula of it was more fun than regular fighting games, but he couldn't get the aspect of building new characters and new models and ideas like Liu Kang and Sub-Zero and those from Tekken, and trying to compete with these guys. He said like he's not going to be able to revolutionize characters to look like that or have stories like that, and he didn't want to put blood in it either. So he had the formula of the game down and didn't have the characters. But the one thing he had was he worked for Nintendo. So what did he do? He went up to the CEO's office. He showed him the game with all the Power Rangers characters and everything like that and said, this is it. You should give me the access to all the Nintendo's characters, and I'm going to slap them in there, and we're going to have a game. You know what they said? No. They just told him no.
Really?
So he went back to his office and did it he did it anyways. He put all the character models. He built 4 characters. I think it was Mario, Link, Donkey Kong, and Samus. He built the 4 characters and built the movesets for them and came back up a couple months later and said, try this now. And apparently all of the developers loved this game so much that they allowed him to have access to more of their assets. And Super Smash Bros., the first one here, gave a lot of introduction to characters that we wouldn't have known about very much in the West, like Ness from Earthbound. You wouldn't have known about the Earthbound series too much unless you were a massive RPG fan and stuff like that. But having Nintendo characters fight outside of like Mario Kart, where they just kind of spun out on their cars, where you could really kill them. You could really knock them off the head. You could Falcon punch them into an oblivion. And again, Captain Falcon came from the F-Zero series, which only had one game beforehand, F-Zero. And making him transfer over into a game like this, they had to build a moveset for him. The same thing happened again with Star Fox. He was only ever in Star Fox 64 and Star Fox for the Super Nintendo. They needed to make the 3D model and build movesets for them. There's a massive community that I like to watch and I'm involved in with the Super Smash community, and knowing that this is where it started and knowing how much mayhem happened on the couch with people fighting over whose character you pick, the items that dropped, the randomization. Then they made the party modes where you could play in like you could make people like gigantic and stuff like that. And then they had the adventure modes and the unlock modes and target practice and stuff like that. I think Nintendo and the developers for Super Smash made an insane community, and just now Super Smash Ultimate is out. It never died. It never truly died, and it just continued to evolve. And I remember it being one of the greatest 4-person player sit-down games of that generation.
Yeah, the OG. Tylord, you ever played this one?
Well, honestly, I hate to say I've never played that. It was kind of a hard game to come by, and especially now. The only one I've played is the newest one. I have it on Switch. My cousin got it for me. We played it when I went to visit a lot. But the original one, and I hear that one might be a little bit different than the others. Is it the same type of gameplay?
It'll be slower than what you're used to.
Okay.
Like you played Ultimate and stuff, it'll feel more clunky and slower. There was a lot of the special moves and tilts were missing. It was very A-B, up, down, forward, up, down moves. It missed a lot of more of the tactical fighting, but it had grab, it had shield, it had a lot of the core fundamentals.
Okay. It's crazy. That's the only N64 game that Samus is in.
Is that true? That's the
Yeah.
only one she's in.
She went right from SNES all the way to GameCube.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I never played this one either. I never. The only one I played is also the Switch one, but I can't get a hang of playing like Smash. I don't know.
I get really overwhelmed, especially I might like the old one, but the new one, all I see are a bunch of bubbles, and I get like super overwhelmed, like bubbles flying everywhere.
I did a stream recently. I did not know what the hell was going on, especially when it's 4 players. I was like, okay, like I think that's me over there in the corner hanging by the Yeah,
I missed that one. If I came in there, we would have had a different story.
Yeah, we did a smash like kind of like a stream, and one of my buddies came in, and he's one of those you're talking about the community. He's my buddy, he goes to bars and they have tournaments, but there's like rules, like no items, no this, no that. Like,
Yep, that's right. Yeah, battlefield stages, no items, usually 3 or 4 stocks, depending on what he's playing,
Wow.
what format he's playing, stuff like that. There's no
Yeah.
legal moves or anything. Everything's
yeah,
good.
we played like that. And he just waxed us. Him and his friend waxed us, and we're like, I want to play with the items. I want to throw the
Yeah.
characters and all that. But next time we have a stream, I'll let you know. We'll coordinate so you can be in there.
Nice. I play Game and Watch on the newest one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's so crazy. Do you think this, like, for fighting games, this is the biggest crossover fighting game?
Oh
'Cause
man,
this
by
has
far it has
characters from, like,
everything. Yeah,
by far.
everyone from Pac-Man to Sonic the Hedgehog to my favorite, like Terry Bogard from Fatal Furies, and like I kind of just want to have the game just for that reason.
yeah, like, is there any
Like-
other game like this that has like all
There's-
these licenses?
Sora and Cloud and Sephiroth
Yeah.
from Square Enix.
Yeah,
There's Snake from the
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid series.
and Simon Belmont and Richter Belmont.
That's it. I think it's upwards of like 80 characters. You have like Fire Emblem characters. You have Pokemon Trainer, which is Game Freak and stuff like that. It is the
Mhm.
biggest crossover game of all time.
I'm waiting
Yeah.
for Master Chief to be in there. I
There's
have a
no
feeling
more.
I should-
There's
no,
no
no
more.
way?
Nope.
No, that's it. He's done.
That's
The
it.
guy that creates it, that adds the characters.
No, that they made the second season pass, and that was it. They said like this was gonna be it, and all the
Oh.
patches are also done. And then they had
Alright.
Steve from Minecraft, and he's known to be the most broken OP character.
Oh, no
in
kidding.
Ultimate that there is. Yep, he has 0 to death chains that you could teach a 12-year-old to do.
Oh yeah.
It's bad. It's really bad. And he's got like invincibility frames. He can tech out of being hit. back
Oh
into
no!
the 0 to death stuff. It like he's the most busted character there is.
So
You
they're
have
never going to
Rob.
patch that.
No, they're sending no more patches. They said like
Oh,
this
wow.
is the final patch. We're not patching it anymore, and people just keep working and keep keep diving deeper into the game, and they keep finding more and more techs and stuff, and finding how more and more broken Steve is. It's bad. It's really bad.
That's funny. All right, we'll set that up. Tyler to jump in too and play some Smash.
I have it.
All right, well, we're gonna go now. Who's next? Tylord's number 2 pick. It was hard to tell what was going on there, but Shadow Man, the number 2 for Tyler.
Okay. You always hear me hyping this game up, and I had never played it up until last year. My brother would play it a bit, and it just looked kind of confusing and dark to me when he was a kid. So this is from 1999, and it was a late release game for N64. 32 megabytes, just like Ocarina of Time. And I think they put those 32 megabytes to good use in this. It's Acclaim Studios T-Side in England made this game, and it's based on a comic that I don't know about. I kind of want to go research that or maybe read it or see if there's like an audiobook of it, because the plot's kind of confusing to me. I don't want to explain it. This is a really macabre, dark game, like kind of voodoo themed. It's set in like New Orleans or something, but you switch between live side, which is the real world, and dead side, which is like this alternate death reality. It kind of looks like hell most of the time, and you're trying to track down Jack the Ripper and a bunch of other serial killers who work for this guy named Legion, who and something about Dead Souls and all that. It's a collectathon type game, like a lot of the Rare games. You collect these Dead Souls, and you get more powerful as you get more. You unlock more items, but the gameplay to this game is it's almost like Metroid. And I was just talking about how Samus was not in N64. There was no Metroid, and because I think they said couldn't have been done, or they don't think they could have made a Metroid to their liking with the 3D Metroid to their liking with the type of technology they had. But after playing this game, I think there should have been a Metroid on N64, because this game's just like kind of like a scary horror macabre version of Metroid. Like, it's a map that you unlock different areas through locating different puzzle items. You fight different bosses. You can go in and out between like the dead side and life side. You end up in a prison fighting all of these inmates and monsters and stuff. You have guns on the life side. Dead side, you have supernatural type weapons. By the end of the game, you can use the dead side weapons, like the supernatural weapons in the real world. So if you like something like Ocarina of Time or Metroid, this is like it flew way under my radar. Like the dungeons in this game are super fun. There's a lot of platforming that it's kind of frustrating, but I think the control works really good. Like, it's super fluid. A lot of Tomb Raider type stuff, like jump off a ledge, flip off a ledge, jump, grab a ledge, climb up. Fun little puzzles. Like I said, it kind of feels like a mixture of Tomb Raider, Silent Hill, and Metroid. And I was not expecting it to be that good of a game, but it blew me away. Like the dungeon design, this game really got addicting after the initial part. I think a lot of people don't get past the first part where you're in the swamp, because it's kind of confusing where you need to go. But once you get into this game, I think when I got to the asylum is when it really started picking up. And you're trying, and your little brother kind of who passed away, he's like your spiritual guide, and you have this voodoo Mama Nettie is kind of guiding you too. And there's this little Irish snake too. I forget his name, but your brother, his teddy bear is what lets you. It's so convoluted. Like, I can't really explain the plot, but his teddy bear is what lets you travel between dead side and live side. And your brother, in the little mysterious form of your little brother, is always beckoning you, so you're always trying to find him. Like I said, kind of like Metroid, well, like a horror version of Metroid, and I loved it. Man, this game really, really caught me by surprise, because the first time I played it was last year, and like, man, out of all the new games there are to play and everything, this game really caught my attention, and it's up there. Like, I have it placed above Ocarina of Time just because I want to hype it up.
You played this one, Moxey? Shadow Man?
I heard a lot of good things by a lot of people. I do own it, of course. I haven't tried it, but I did hear about this cross supernatural bit. It's like Shadow Man, like, there's a lot of like running aspect to the game as well, isn't there? That much I've heard as well.
I know you. Yeah, a lot of the puzzles are like run based. Like, a couple times you have to be running because there's like big gears and stuff. It kind of reminds me of something out of like Castlevania, but it's 3D. You have to like time all your jumps, and it gets kind of frustrating, but it's like super satisfying when you beat some of these dungeons.
No, I heard lots of good things about it.
Yeah.
Where again, the picture of it looks like a very rad, right out of 2000s.
Yeah.
Era. It does. It looks right out of the 2000s era. You'd pick this up today and show it to a new kid and be like, nah, I'm not going to touch it. But it doesn't have anything to really do with like the initial photo stock image on the front of it. But of course, I've heard lots of good things. There's I'm surprised Ocarina of Time isn't number one for you, since you loved it so much. But I'm glad that you enjoyed this game so much.
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you, Moxey.
For a while.
Tylord was walking down a street, like down the street, talking about trying to get anybody to hear about this game, Shadow Man.
Yeah, and it had been there for so long, and I never gave it a chance.
Yeah,
that's exactly why they call these things a cult classic.
Yeah.
Was this on PlayStation also?
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
That's what got me into it. My buddy in my text group, HGR Hidden Game Room, he says, "Man, I really love Shadow Man." And I said, "I don't know if I've really spent much time on that." And he says, "Here, I'll give you my copy of. I have 2 copies. I'll give you my copy for PlayStation 1." And he gave it to me, and it was nice of him to give it to me. And I started playing it, but it was freaking. You talk about N64 being inferior. That thing run like crap. Like it could not. I appreciate PlayStation being able to actually release that game, but it was like so much worse from what I later played on. But I knew there was the foundation of something like, wow, I like this game. It's just hard to see anything and it's hard to move around. And then so I got at the retro store. Shadow Man was there for like $12 on the N64, so I got that, and I'm like, this is smooth. If you even look at the ratings, the Dreamcast and the N64 one are always rated a lot higher on the how do you say, like the ratings, the critics or whatever. You always see that the PC and the Dreamcast and N64 are rated a lot higher than the PlayStation version, which that's only like a 32-bit console. So I appreciate even being on there. And I kind of went back to play it. I got like maybe halfway through. I go, no, I gotta just stick with the N64 one.
Yeah, I've never played it, but the way you tout it, I'm like, maybe one day I'll look for it and play it.
It's one of those games, like, you know how the PlayStation has its ups, like the textures can be way more detailed because they can hold more memory, so the textures can be very detailed. But whereas N64, like, can have like bigger environments and more stuff going on. So that's kind of like why I think that type of game plays good for N64.
Yeah, they need to put Shadow Man in Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about that after I played it.
Yeah.
Down
All
meaning
right.
changes from life cycle to death cycle.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. All right, I'm gonna go to my number 2 pick now.
Your number 3.
You're about to embark on the most exciting journey of your life. Come, gentlemen, come.
Fasten your seatbelts for a 360-degree burnout. Precision handling for 1 to 4 drivers. New Mario Kart 64. It really kicks ass fun.
At number 2, I've got Mario Kart 64. This might still be my favorite Mario Kart ever. I think this Switch one, maybe it's right there, but man, I love Mario Kart 64 so much. Let's see, Moxey's got it there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love this game so much. This game, like, just like all the other games I mentioned, me and my buddies after school weekends, like, hey, who's hosting Mario Kart? Go over, play through every single race. We would even do like a scoring system. Nowadays, I think it actually tells you, right? Like, you put a set amount of tracks and it'll give you who's the first place based on who on points. Before, we would manually do it on a piece of paper. We would write like, okay, you got 7 first place, you get 10 points for first place. We would do it manually. We were like, love this game so much. And this is one of those games, even the one on the Switch, I'm not great at these games, but they're still so fun. I don't have to win to have fun. I still have fun. You know, I'm in the middle of the pack. Every blue moon, I'll sneak by and get a first place, but I don't care because I'm having a blast shooting people with the red turtle shells, dropping the bananas. Like, this game is just so fun, and it still holds up. I remember playing the Super Mario Kart. Was it? Yeah, Super Mario Kart. It's still fun, but I don't feel like that one holds up the same that Mario Kart 64 holds up.
Oh, I feel the same.
Like, it's just too hard. Like, it's still fun. I still have fun playing it, but I much rather like play Mario Kart 64. There you go. It's still fun. The music's great. It's still a fun game. But Mario Kart 64, I can jump in. Like, sometimes my friends come over, we'll plug it in. We're having a blast. It's still a fun game to play, and anybody could play this. Like, anybody could play this. Like even if
It's
you're not a
very
gamer.
entry level. It's very
Yeah.
entry level, easy to learn game. And the
Yeah.
Switch makes it even easier with having the invisible bumpers if you want them on, and auto acceleration and stuff like that if you want it. You're right about the N64 one. It is the peak pinnacle. It's not even that it's just like the best for that reason. It's the best because it mainstreamed 4-player co-op or 4-player gaming and racing.
Mhm.
And not even and the racing's like the best. It's the the main course, but then you do the battle. That's super fun too. Like doing the battle system with the little 3 balloons on your back, and we
Yep.
would spend hours playing that, like that mode, and having a blast doing that. It was kind of like I would call it Nintendo's Twisted Metal. That
Yeah, the
little
battles,
that
the battles
the
mode,
battle
yeah, was
mode.
like, yeah,
For kids though.
yeah,
But still super fun, man. Still super fun.
yeah.
And any thoughts on this one, Tylord, on Mario Kart
Oh, I
64?
love it. Like I was saying, this was the one that my brother got, and I remember my dad doesn't play a lot of video games. He played Kung Fu and Super Mario Brothers, but he wasn't a big gamer. But he really got into Mario Kart, as our whole family did. And even my dad was like, "Wow, you got to see this game!" Like how back then it was like a big deal, like the detail, like look how they kind of lean into the turn, like they animate. Like he thought he got a big kick out of that. And we'd all just, oh man, it's so fun. The yeah, like you said, the power up items, you could attack each other as you're racing, and the environments were based on like Mario areas. And I've always been a Mario fan ever since I was like 6 years old. And Mario 1 was my favorite game ever, and Mario 2 and 3. So kind of like a racing in that world is awesome. And then I remember like the city level, like you drive by buses and all that. It seemed like really cool at the time that you were able to like race through like traffic.
Yeah, through the highway.
Yeah.
Is this your favorite Mario Kart, Moxey? Or which one's your favorite Mario Kart?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's good. Sometimes
Yeah,
I'm like,
I think this
Yeah.
one cemented. This one was the best made one for the controller. This one
Yeah.
felt the best on the N64 controller. Out of
Mhm.
all the games that were made, it's like the N64 was made for this game, and the
Mhm.
controller fits it.
Yeah.
It just fits it perfectly. Where the Z,
Mhm.
R, all the C sticks, all of it just is so smooth with their controller.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And this
fun.
might be the first game I remember. Maybe this happened in F-Zero, but there was that rubber band effect everyone talks about, which kind of made it easier. Like it got less frustrating if you were hanging back in the race.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, like I said, I'm not great at this game, and let's play some Mario Kart. Let's play
Yeah.
some Mario Kart 64.
Who do you guys play on as 64? I either like Toad or Peach.
I always pick Bowser
I
because
always
he had
pick
like
I always pick Mario because I'm Mario. My name's Mario, so I would
Yeah.
just be like, I'll be Mario.
Yeah.
But I like Wario, I think, better because he's got more cushion for the pushing. Like you can kind of shove the other characters more.
Yeah.
Was that
Yeah.
one of the first games he was introduced on?
That was the first time he came back, like in the he was on Super Mario Land 2, 6 gold coins. That was his first appearance. That was probably early 90s. And then, but no one ever really saw him again. No, I think he had a series of games, but no one ever saw him like in 3D until that. Like that's when he got really popular.
Yeah, he had the classic lines like "I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Wario, I'm a Gamorrean."
Yeah.
So fun, man.
Yeah.
Still quotable. Still so quotable.
What's Donkey Kong say when he gets hit? It's kind of like this, or something.
Yeah, a fun one. And this game used to piss me off. You know why? Because I wanted to own it. You know how Nintendo is. They to this day they will
Oh,
not
yeah.
drop the prices on their games. Like
Nope.
years would pass. I'm like, why is this game still like $60?
No.
I
Yeah.
want to buy this game.
Millions and millions of copies of this game around,
Yeah.
and all of them are expensive.
Yep.
It's still what, like a $30 game, probably loose cart. It's
Oh
still
yeah,
like
no, at
$25,
least.
$30 game.
Yeah,
Probably. Yeah.
I'm thinking it's
Crazy.
like 40 loose.
Yeah. Crazy. All right. Well,
Yeah.
that was we're gonna go to that was my number 2. We're gonna go to Moxey's number 2 pick now.
All right.
Yeah, so out partying last night. He gets up on the bar and starts slaying all over these bikers. Then we get back here and he goes all night. He's paying for it now.
See this squirrel go on a bender, and you'll never look at squirrels the same way again. Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Oh, yeah, you like that?
Rated M for mature.
This does not feel like a typical Nintendo commercial.
It sure shouldn't, because this is Conker's Bad Fur Day, made and developed by Rare, but they were allowed to do anything they wanted with this one. And it shows. It shows that it was clearly a bunch of dudes in a room making a game that they wanted. They took hilarity to a new height. They took it's so hard to describe what's so fundamental. Like, if you haven't played this you should play it literally right now. You should find a way to play it right now, because Conker's the squirrel, and he goes on a bender. He goes on a bender and gets super drunk, and he forgets all that kind of happened the night before. He's got another squirrel who's like an athletics girlfriend who's also a squirrel. Like, it's got ridiculous humor, boobs. There's a giant piece of shit that you fight in it. There's a singing piece of shit called the Great Mighty Pooh, and it's like an orchestra. It's hilariously amazing, man. And then on top of that, there's a multiplayer mode where not only can you get away from the regular campaign of it, this is where the game shines. This takes it that everybody can play in like a war campaign where you're either teddies or squirrels. I'll pull up images of it's too funny, man. It's too funny. Where you can be like, here's a teddy bear. Like, you think of a nice teddy bear. Look at this guy.
Oh.
So you can be an evil teddy bear in war, fighting against. Let me see if I can find one of the army squirrels here for you. Here you go. Here's an army squirrel.
And this is a deathmatch, the multiplayer, like 4v4.
Oh yeah,
or what is
yeah.
it?
You can get chainsaws, samurai swords, magnums, dual Uzis, sniper rifles. You name it. You can blow each other's head into like pieces. You can saw them in. You could take the chainsaw and rip your friend in like 15 different little pixels and stuff. Like, there's so much blood, there's so much gore, but they're all like these ultra cartoony characters, and it's really fun. Like, there's other modes that also go on called Beach, where it sounds really, really bad, but it's basically like there's a big base where it's basically the Nazi teddy bears shooting down like the French that are trying to like board like their ships are landing, and they're just running to the base and stuff like that. So you're just shooting the French, who are armless, with rocket launchers, sniper rifles, and a giant Gatling machine gun. It is horrifically hilarious. There's another mode called Prehistoric, and two of you can be dinosaurs. Literal dinosaurs, and the other people are cavemen with like bones as clubs, and you can go pick up like throwing knives and stuff, and you're trying to steal their eggs. It's ridiculous. It's out of control fun, and it was the first game that I owned, especially for the N64, that was mature. And it's not just the fact that it's got a bit of blood and stuff like that. It has so much cursing. It has so much blood. It has so many like mature bits to it where it's like I shouldn't have been playing it.
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
far,
How old
I
were
shouldn't
you?
have.
How old were you when you were playing this?
I think I started playing it a year after it came out, and it came out in 2001. I would have been 12. I was 12, and it was so gory. It was so funny. It was like getting introduced to South Park for the first time. Imagine that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like trying to get introduced to South Park for the first time as a young person and being like, that's really funny. Because they go beyond the limit because it's not real. It's very cartoony. And they take it beyond the limit, so it's okay to be that kind of funny. There's a sunflower in the very beginning of the game that there's a king bee who's cheating on his queen bee with a sunflower, and he's pollinating her, but she's got this huge rack. She's got a huge rack. I'll try to find it. And to get the money, you have to convince her that you need to bounce on her boobs to go and get your money. Look at some of these. Some of these are out of control, man.
I still can't believe this was a game on the Nintendo, a Nintendo console.
I know, but it was made by Rare, and that's where I think like this like hit its peak by Rare. There was just like Donkey Kong. I think they did Perfect Dark. They did a bunch of really good games for the N64, but this one's known as like the cult classic. And then they did the remaster for the Xbox, and everyone hates it because it doesn't have the same. They made it very realistic. They gave him very like textured fur and stuff like that. Here, you can be one of these dinosaurs. Like you can go eat your friends and stuff like that. Like you can be like, look how cartoon that is. Giant head, tiny neck.
Have you played this one, Tylord?
My brother, that he's probably around your age, Mox, that he would play. Maybe he shouldn't have been playing it. But I remember I would get a kick out of watching him play it.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize there's all these battle modes you're talking about.
I didn't know that either. I thought it was just a single player campaign game.
Yeah.
No, it gets better. It gets good.
This is one of those games that eluded me. Like I always wanted to play it,
and it's super expensive now, right?
Yeah, it's expensive. Isn't it like over 100? Over 100 now?
Oh, dude, way more than that, especially here. But the game also does a lot of nod-off moments to like movies that were very present at the time. There's like a Matrix scene where like you go through the metal detectors, everything goes off. You're in the long trench coat with the glasses. Pull the machine guns out. You're like doing side flips on the walls, shooting other squirrels down. And then the final area is Alien. Like you're fighting Alien from Alien.
Fighting.
Yeah, I didn't realize all that was in that one. I was thinking that new one, the Reloaded. I didn't realize they were the same game.
It's the same game. This one is the cult classic. This is classic.
What about the one on the Rare Replay? Because it's on Rare Replay.
Oh, okay. I have access to that. Or we have access to that then.
Because Tyler's talking about the one that was on the Xbox. I think
that's
it's
Live and Reloaded. That's the textured over the one that people aren't a super big fan of.
But the Rare Replay one's good. The Conker's Bad Fur Day on the Rare Replay.
That is the remake. I'm pretty sure.
It's just a remaster of the. I thought it was the remaster of the 64 game. No.
Yeah, that's what it would be. Like it's the textured over, way better graphic one, right?
So that one's not good.
It's not the cult classic. It's not the same way that you remember.
I think I might still have to play that one though, because I think Conker's Bad Fur Days like around 200 now, right? If you want to own the cartridge only.
So that version, the N64 version, is not on that Rare Replay then, huh?
Probably not, because like,
Okay.
Rare keeps. I don't know what it is, but this is the only way to play it.
Oh, okay. That's probably another reason it's so
Really?
pricey. But
Yeah, unless you go on emulator and stuff like that, this is the
yeah.
only way to
Yeah,
play it.
I thought
It's either-
Conker's Bad Fur Day was on that Rare Replay.
It is. It's the
Reloaded.
live and reloaded version. It's the
Yeah.
original Xbox one.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo's property with Rare
Oh, right.
got cut at the end and went to Microsoft after.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
but
And
I'm
then they
looking at the
reintroduced
games. It just says Conker's Bad Fur Day in the
But
collection.
it probably looks a lot better than like the cartoon one that I'm showing you.
And that's the one I'm gonna play because that's like the one Rare game I've always wanted to play, because you would hear like friends talking about it, like, oh, it's so funny, the the giant poo boss, and it just sounded hilarious. And I'm a big fan of like crude stuff from like the 90s, like Beavis and Butthead and
This
Ren and
pushes the limit.
Stimpy, like stuff like that. So I think I would dig this game.
This pushes the limit of like mature games.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Like
yeah,
the
for
only
sure.
like passive mature game that came out afterwards that I thought was like more crude was Grand Theft Auto, and that's because it was like running over people, shooting police and stuff. Like it got really close to real life.
You're kidding about that. All right, cool pick. But hey, we're getting this. We're at the number ones now, so we're gonna go to Tylord's number one pick, and he might have some splaining to do for Moxey.
Lock the door. Turn out the lights. Pretend it's just a nightmare.
The most intense survival game ever created. Resident Evil 2. Now for Nintendo 64.
Moxey, a look of disbelief at Tylord having Resident Evil 2.
Okay, hear me out. Hear me out, Moxey. Okay. So I Resident Evil 1 is like one of my favorite games of all time, and then 2 came out and it was up there just as good. And I think at the time I didn't have a PlayStation, because I think I got rid of it to buy an N64 so I could play like Shadows of the Empire or whatever in the wrestling games. But then Resident Evil 2 came out, and it was later on, way later on, like maybe like 2 years later, it came out on N64. And I go, man, I really wish they'd come out with part 1 on N64, but I'm happy with 2. And so I got this game, and then another game my wife and I both played simultaneously. Like, this is the only scary Resident Evil game Resident Evil game my wife has ever played. I think it's because one of the benefits to this game is you can put cheat codes in to have like unlimited ink ribbon and unlimited ammo, and I think unlimited health.
Right off the hop, it could be done right away.
Yeah. You could just do it right off the hop. Because like maybe the other ones had that, but this one had it like right off the hop. Like you just put a code in at the menu system or something, like up, down, down. I don't remember what they are because I try not to play it like that. But this one, okay, so as far as looks, like this one looks a lot better. Like I'm saying, like the character models look better and they're not all jiggly. I'm sure the backgrounds aren't as detailed because like we were saying about the they have to be compressed, and the CDs can hold a lot more bigger sized files for the textures. But as far as looking at this game, it actually looks better than the PlayStation one. I might just be biased towards this because I spent more time on this one, but it actually has extra stuff, like extra files for them to read and little Easter eggs that weren't in the original one. And it has Dolby surround sound, which none of them had. I think you have to have the right equipment for it. And you can change it. I remember my mother-in-law didn't like violent stuff, so my wife would change it to blue blood or green blood, and she'd be like, "Hey, what's that coming out of him? Oh, I think it's like zombie juice or something."
Only
Even,
Nintendo would do that.
yeah, like it's so ridiculous, but it just tickles.
Zombie juice.
Yeah, it just tickles. It tickles me. It tickles me that would be in there, and so the only thing I can tell that's definitively worse about this are the FMV videos are like really compressed, so they look crappier than the nice clear ones that are on the CD version. That's the only thing I've noticed. But like I said, this is the one I spent the most time with. I don't notice anything really missing from it. But I do know and the thing why I really appreciate this is like the efficiency they got out of 64 megabytes, because the PlayStation version was 757 megabytes.
Yep.
Now I know that a lot of that is probably like unnecessary coding. I think you could actually fit the game on one disc. I heard someone once say like they made them with the audio files, they screwed up, so they had to put it on 2 discs when it actually could fit on 1 disc. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm pretty sure like they've maximized the coding on this, so probably they used the same codes to do stuff where instead of writing it, I don't know how coding works, but from what I've watched videos on and read about was like they can use some of the same code, like reuse some of the same coding to do the same thing for different things in this game. So I just really appreciate the maximum efficiency of coding this game has to fit that whole game onto 64 megabytes, which is like so small. I mean, it's the biggest cartridge ever made, and it kind of makes me wonder, like, what if they could have Final Fantasy on N64? Like, if they had a little bit more space than that, or other games, or like Metal Gear. I don't know what it would have been like, but just the idea that they were able to maximize the efficiency of that such small space to put Resident Evil 2 and have like a Michael based or a James Cameron style like experience on a little tiny cartridge like that. That's why I always think Resident Evil 2 is like almost like a movie. Like it's so good on any system you play it on. But just like that they were able to fit all the music, all the levels, even the freaking cutscenes, like the FMVs on an N64 cartridge at 64 megabytes. So I got to put this on top just because I love the game. But just and another thing, speaking of Grand Theft Auto, it was actually Angel Studios that ported it, that turned into Rockstar Studios. So they know how to do stuff over there. So Resident Evil 2, didn't even talk about how cool the game is. Like a zombie outbreaks in a city. The whole thing, it takes place in a police station, similar to the mansion in the first one, but it's probably a lot bigger game than the first game. Limited ammo, limited health items. 2 players on this one, as opposed to Resident Evil 1, you could do 2 guys too, and that Jill and Chris. This one has 2 players, but there's 2 campaigns for each of them. There's a campaign A, campaign B, a scenario A, scenario B for both of them. So you get a lot of bang for your buck out of this game. And so Resident Evil 2 is up there, my number 1 N64 game.
Did he convince you, Moxey, why this is above Ocarina of Time? Did he convince you?
I know that there's diehard fans for Resident Evil 2. And as the remakes came out for all of them, I started going through all the old ones because I own them roughly about a month before the new ones would come out. Yeah. And I would understand what it was like back then, and reminiscing with the idea that nothing out there even touched the idea of something like this before.
Yeah.
Knowing the fact that someone performed wizardry on that cartridge to shrink it down by 1/10 to stick it on. And then someone at Konami also said yes to doing it and selling it that way is also magic. To have it on the N64 is just kind of like a testament cartridge. It's just a kind of, we could have done it.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
You bet it is. When it comes down to the crunching math of it, you've got no idea. It's so hard to believe that they did that, and they saw how many consumers left because the N64 didn't convert, because it was originally supposed to be a CD system. Didn't do it. And then they said they were going to have the CD add-on, which existed for a short period of time in Japan, to only go from that to being its own specific version of its own CD in the GameCube. The half-sized disc after, where it's like they didn't even commit to it.
Yeah, and even that thing, as good as that was limited with the capacity of the storage also. I guess that you could have multiple discs, but still.
But still, they just always lacked capacity era. But it never really stopped them from developing phenomenal games. They never let it like touch that territory. I think Resident Evil 2 is probably better played on other hardware. I'm glad you love it.
You're wrong, Tylord. You're wrong.
I can't put across tank controls on an N64.
Yeah. That's another thing I forgot to mention. The N64 version, even though it's still shitty, it's even worse than the tank control. You can actually have that new modern control on the N64 version with the stick. Like, just point the guy the direction you want to go, and he'll go that way. Like, I know everyone likes that in the Resident Evil 1 remake, but even though I think it's stupid, because like the camera angle will change, and then you'll have to change where you're pressing. That is another thing on the N64 they added. Like, they just press, instead of doing tank control, you can just move him wherever you're pointing the stick.
Yep. So they took away tank controls.
Yeah.
That's good. So that
but I mean, it's even crappier because you leave the camera angle, then you have all of a sudden you have to press the other way because you.
I never wanted to play Resident Evil 2 on the 64. I remember looking at that being on the 64 and being like, I don't want to play that on the 64. I bet you it doesn't have the FMV videos.
No, it's got them.
It does have the FMVs?
Yeah. A couple of them are, I guess they're compressed so they don't look as good. Another thing I noticed was a couple of times there's a cutscene with Claire, and it's like the same cutscene as with Leon, but but you see like Leon in both of them or Claire in both of them because they're so similar, just like one part. Like you see the one character, they just have room for one video instead of where PlayStation they could add two big videos, like one just for Chris, or one just for Leon where it just shows him briefly, and one just for Claire that just shows her briefly. I think in this one it just shows only Claire or Leon. I can't remember.
But do they look as crisp as the PlayStation FMVs or no? They look
no. Well, they're not terrible, but they're definitely lower res than those.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've only played this on the PlayStation. Like, this was a game that I was like, I would never get this on a 64. Hey, it happened. They did it.
And there's a do you have this one complete in box?
Yeah, he just showed it right now.
Oh, okay. I wasn't paying. Okay, excellent. Okay. Oh man, there's one of them over at the game store for like $200. So I'm like, oh, I should just go trade in a bunch of stuff and get it.
You might as well. It's your number one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, number one. I don't think you convinced Moxey.
I think it's kind of heavy from all that data it's got in it, though.
Yeah, it is.
You can do some bicep curls with Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, it's like twice the heft of Shadow Man here.
Not kidding.
All right. Well, that was a Tylord. You got to stick by it. That's your number.
Yeah,
one.
no, I'm sticking by it.
If you love it,
that's fine.
It's number one. Number one for you.
Like it's across the board. Where PlayStation 1, some people believe that it's their number one on even PlayStation 1. It's just the fact of what it was. It was Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Didn't matter where it was.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna go to my number one now.
ワープロ最強宣言、あの王道全日本プロレスも正式参戦。圧倒的な選手技モードで夢のカードが実現。 バーチャルプロレス2報道決勝
My number one pick is an import. It's a Japanese imported game that I just discovered this year. It is virtual. I don't know if you guys can see it. Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. This is my new favorite N64 game. So I found out about. I'm a big wrestling fan, as you can tell, Moxey. So I on YouTube, Google, just searching what are the best Japanese N64 wrestling games, and this one always came out. Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. I bought it, popped it in. I've been streaming it. I freaking love this game. I'm like, the games that we had here, awesome, but I'm like, they got a little bit extra. Like this game has a little bit more oomph to it. It's a little bit more Smash Mouth. I'm playing through the career mode. The career mode is so cool because they'll have you're like wrestling every week. So they'll have you like in a tournament one week. The next week you're fighting a bunch of guys in a battle royal. The week after that, you're in a tournament defending your tag titles. Like it's just like better than the ones we got. Only bad part is I don't read Japanese. That's the only hard part. So I like point my camera. I open a Google Translate and I point my camera at the screen, and I'm able to see, okay, this is exhibition. This is blood on, blood off, or whatever. But I am loving this game, playing through the story mode. It's so fun, man. I feel like sometimes the American games, we kind of get them dumbed down. Like I've noticed that with some of the wrestling games. But super fun game. Anybody that is a fan of the American wrestling games, you got to get yourself. It's like a little plastic part, right? You add to your 64, so you're able to play the Japanese imports.
I was just about to ask you. I was like, "Oh, how exactly do you play that by chance?" And you
know
already
what?
have the answer.
Yeah. So you know what? I bought that plastic piece. It's like a 3D printed one off of eBay because I was gonna add it. But just by chance, I popped in the game into my 64 and I played it. So I'm like, did somebody already just go in and do that? Or how is it playing it? I'm not sure. But it's playing or is this a fake Japanese import? I don't know.
Hold on. Do you have another N64 game with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Line the two of them up. Line the two of them up where cartridge that you go into console meets cartridge going into console. So get the round parts on the outside, and you're going to see on the back ends there's slits on the inside. When it comes to the Japanese games and the NTS games, the NTS ones should have the slits on the outside, and the Japanese ones have the slits on the inside. So that was the only thing that bridged the two parts in between having an international game and otherwise. So what you're talking about is in here. So this is my special edition Pikachu one, and there's actually something that you can do right on the inside of here. So it is a plastic mouthpiece that allows the cartridge to go down. So any actual board can go into any reader of the N64 and be read and show its data going outwards. But there is that plastic housing on the inside. What you can actually do is go inside it and you can cut the part out that holds either one in, and then any game can go inside of it.
Okay.
Or you can replace that little 3D printed
this was before 3D printing and sales like stuff like that were very, very popular. You would go in and just kind of cut it down yourself.
You would do it DIY style.
Very much, yeah.
I did that with one of my Super Nintendos. One of my Super Nintendos, I cut those little knobs out.
There you go.
That's exactly the same thing. Yeah, like for the games, you lined up the games and you could see on the back side. So does that game line up with an American game? Exactly.
It does. Yeah. So is this like a fake?
No, it could. So you could. That's just the backside of the cartridge. So somebody could have put like an American backing on it.
Oh, no wonder, because I opened it and it has
you know what, that
Nintendo stuff on it. So I was like,
is that something you could do, Mox? Is just like replace the casing or even just the back of the casing with any game?
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, or the
that's
front.
cool.
You could
Yeah.
change it with an American one.
So that's
Yeah.
what they did, because I was like, how is it playing on my thing if I
Because if you
haven't
look
added
right on it, yeah, if you directly look right on it, it's the back plate. And that's the only thing that you'd need to change is that's how it inserts into the N64 itself. So if you changed it with an American backplate, so if you went and got one of those $1 Madden 1999s and you just used them for backplates, you could.
Oh, that's
And
a
you could
good
play any
strategy.
Japanese game on your NTSC one just with a new backplate.
That's cool. So that's probably what they did, because I bought this one off of eBay and I even opened it. I was like, is this a bootleg? And it has like the Nintendo, the gold letters on the motherboard or whatever you call that. So I was like, no, it says Nintendo on there. So maybe that's what they did, because I haven't put in that 3D part in my 64 yet. But if you love the N64 wrestling games, play this damn game. This is
No, I gotta
so
play that
cool.
one.
Yeah, you
No.
can get you can fight MMA fighters. Like
Yeah,
you fight
yeah.
guys that are like UFC guys, and
Yeah, I
you
saw
can't throw them off the
Sakuraba's
ropes.
in there.
Yeah, you can't throw them off the ropes, because guess what?
They
MMA
don't fall for
fighters
that
don't run.
shit. What?
They don't run off the ropes. You can't
Yeah.
throw them. It's fun, man. This game's super fun. None. I'm guessing neither of you guys have played this one. I don't
No,
think
I've
Moxey's
seen you
hunted this
stream
one
it.
up.
No, I'm definitely
Yeah.
gonna get that game.
It has
No,
your
I've
boy
not.
Don Fry.
Yeah, Don Fry's in it. I saw Sakuraba was in it, and there was a bunch of MMA guys like Mark Kerr and who else?
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys.
And a bunch of American wrestlers like Dick Murdoch and who else?
Yeah, Stan Hansen.
Yeah, Stan Hansen and Vader.
Yes, Vader. And some
Yeah.
people, it's funny because I memorized the menu so good.
Yeah.
And people that are watching me stream, I think someone was like, I didn't know you read Japanese. I'm like, no, I just memorized like where to go.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell is on there, but yeah, fun one. And now the last but not least,
Well,
but
I'd
definitely.
like to put out one more thing. If you're looking at Japanese games, there's one that's regarded as one of the greatest N64 games that there was, but it was only released in Japan, and it's called Sin and Punishment.
I've heard of that. I've heard of
It's
Sin
like
and Punishment. What kind of game is that? Sin and
It's like
Punishment.
an on rails. No, it's like a shooter, right? Like a like
and it was apparently so good, but it was only in Japan.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't
You
know
know
there
what?
was.
It was on the Wii Virtual Console, but I never got it. Like
I've heard of it. I've heard the name for sure.
Yeah.
So you can't complete your N64 collection, Moxey, until you get Virtual Pro Wrestling 2.
It's a almost complete NTSC, with like a North American collection.
All right. Well, this is the reason number one pick here for Moxey. This is the reason he's going last. So let's check out his number one pick.
All right.
The Japanese commercial, but that was Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask at Moxey's number one pick.
Yeah. Majora's Mask definitely became my number one favorite N64 game. I have a hard time breaking away from Ocarina of Time for lots of good reason. Not just out of nostalgia and stuff like that, but for being a Nintendo fanboy and being at the age that I was, Majora's Mask was one of the first games that got that dark, nitty-gritty feeling to it and really got that bit of horror, lots of creepy atmosphere, and really dive deep into like the matter and psychology that the people of Termina had to deal with. You got to see as they developed, as the moon came crashing towards them with nothing that they could do. You got to see the environment really change in all aspects during what was a 3-day span of the ending of the world. Ocarina of Time was very much like, you go back in time, things are the way that they are. You go forward in time, things are kind of way they are. This game made this developing aspect, a day and night cycle. It had people that you either needed to help, many new environments and creatures and things that you had to kill, new puzzles and atmospheres that really delved into the same kind of formula of Zelda. But I just think this one clicked with me so much more. I can remember so much more of Majora's Mask. Not that I know everything about Ocarina of Time already, but Majora's Mask, I love everything that's got a horror aspect to it. I love dark, gritty atmospheres and creatures and environments. And this soaked up so much more of that. Where Ocarina of Time is the natural hero adventure, this one's very much of the it's not an apocalypse. It's a ending of the world. It's the coming of time. And I don't know. I think this was I passed Ocarina of Time, and this one was just as its a successor. And I just think it proceeded to even be that to me. I love that Skull Kid mask. There's nothing more iconic than that mask. You know, that's like the daunting creature behind the mask that just is this onset of evil. The dark settling, like the big bright eyes and the dark purple mask. I loved collecting all of the masks in the game around Termina, completing all the quests, and finally getting the adult mask, the fierce deity mask. And that outfit is iconic now, the fierce deity. And that's the only time it was ever put in any Zelda game ever, except for like the outfits in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But it was like the only time that the fierce deity really made a massive impact. And it was like, holy shit, you got some extreme power. And it was because of all the work that you did. I don't know. Majora's Mask just sits with me different.
Wow.
Knowing that you're cursed right at the beginning to be stuck as a Deku scrub. Like right at the beginning of the game has this dark curse aspect that you're just this scrubby character. And he's just like, this world is mine. And you have to do as much as possible to make sure that doesn't happen.
Very cool. Tylord, you play this one?
Unfortunately, no. I'm thinking that might be another like gem I need to revisit. I don't know if I'm like mentally and emotionally ready to take on that game yet. Maybe I am, but from what I've heard about it, it's really deep, dark themed game, and I don't know, like it. Like I don't know if I'm ready to play it because it also seems pretty difficult. Like, don't you? It's kind of like Groundhog Day. Like you keep having to go back in time and doing it over and over and over.
If you don't complete the tasks that you wanted to be set out to do, you gotta go back.
Yeah, and how would you say the? I kind of want to ask you some questions about this game because it is one I want to. It's like on my big iconic checklist game. Like I want to tackle, but is this game? Is it more difficult than Ocarina of Time?
It introduces a lot of new features. You can be a Zoran.
Yeah.
You can be a Goron, and you can be a Deku. So you have 4 different elements that you can even be those species. So it's not that it's more. I'd say it's more difficult because it's not that you complete a quest and it's over. It's that when time reverts again, that quest can be started again. If you get the reward for the quest by the end of it, you keep it when you go back in time. So you keep the reward and keep cycling. You keep finding the new avenues.
Okay. So it's not like you're effed if you miss something. Like you have to go back to a previous save or no.
That's right. You'll be okay.
Okay. And then I have this on that little compilation you showed earlier for GameCube. Should I play it on that or try to get that DS remake?
Ooh. Do you have it for the GameCube, the collector's edition?
Yeah.
It's not bad. I wouldn't say that it's
Okay.
bad at all.
Okay.
I'd say that is the original way that it was made to be
Okay.
played.
I might go with that.
That's not a bad way to go.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a GameCube and a good controller to go along with
Yeah.
it. It'll run funny because it's on a GameCube controller, but you could probably do it.
Okay. Cool.
I have nothing to add because I haven't played this. I haven't played any Zelda but Breath of the Wild. But
Yeah.
I know the mask, that iconic
Yeah.
like heart-shaped mask with the spikes
Yeah.
all around it. You know it when you see it.
It seems like a dark place I kind of don't want to go to, even though it's N64 cutesy system. It always something about that game like didn't settle right with me. I know it's a good thing, like it's a really different theme from any other game, but I know that'll be a good experience when I ever do try to tackle that.
Oh yeah, it's got some serious dark atmosphere to it, and it's not all. It just like in Ocarina of Time, it's like you're bringing the light to most of Hyrule, and most of the things that you solve can be fixed in a good way. Not all things need to end in perfect ceremony when it comes to Majora's Mask. Some things end kind of terrible fashion, the way that they should conclude, not the way that everybody wants them to be.
Very cool. So that was our list. So let's get into honorable mentions.
All right.
Tylord. Any that didn't crack your top 5?
Well, of course, some we've already mentioned, like Mario Kart and and your WWF games. Or the one I really liked was WCW. I got them all scattered out now. Revenge.
That's a good
WCW Revenge, mostly just because I like the roster in that one. That's my favorite period of wrestling for WCW, pretty much. Like it had all the classic WWF guys and then all the new up and coming guys. So just because of the roster, NWO Revenge, out of all those games, they pretty much are all the same to me. But that one just because I like the roster. Another one, like when I first got my N64, and I was a big Star Wars fan, was Shadows of the Empire. Is it Shadows? Yeah, Shadows of the Empire.
Very cool. That's right.
Yeah, this is a cool like multi how do you say?
This game scared the shit out of me.
Which one was it? Oh, this one?
Yours, yeah, yours with the Yetis.
Yeah, those Yetis, what are they called? I forget what they're called, like Wampas or something.
Yeah, this game scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. And it plays through a lot of the scenes from the movies, but you're not playing with the main characters, you're playing as a separate character. Like I think he was based on a character from a spin-off novel, but a multi genre game, right? There's some flying around. The classic scene from the movie where you're flying around the AT-ATs and put the tow cable and you trip them up on the Hoth. And then there's I actually like the third person levels. I know people trashed on them, but you can switch. You can even switch to first person or fixed camera angle. What else? Yeah, this was like one of the first N64 games I ever beat. It had a lot of the score from the movies, like the music. So anytime that John Williams music comes on, like it elevates the game. And then I'm into beat 'em up, so I had to throw a beat 'em up in Fighting Force 64. Kind of a tough game, but I found an exploit like the dive roll. You can kind of grind through the game with a dive roll. And I kind of find it to be a fun game. I know it was originally supposed to be Streets of Rage 4. The developers designed it to be that, and it turned out its own thing. But it's fun.
Wasn't that on the Dreamcast?
Yeah, it's on Dreamcast and PlayStation 2. This is probably the worst version because it doesn't have the music and all that, and the low texture and all that. But fun game because I'm a fan of beat 'em ups. very Streets of Rage vibe to it. And then another one everyone talks trash about, and I beat it for the first time this year. And I got to just stop listening to people, just like experience stuff for myself. Is Castlevania 64.
Oh man.
Man, okay, so this is another game back in the day I played it. I go, this game freaking sucks. Like I couldn't figure out where to go, and it was awkward, and I'd fall off of stuff. But once I got it down, like it's pretty darn fun. It pretty much has the challenge of a one of the linear Castlevania games, but it's in 3D. It kind of breaks up the gameplay like too. Like at one point you go to a mansion, and it's kind of like a Resident Evil type game. And then you go back to the platforming, which is really frustrating. But once you can master some of these segments, it's like super satisfying. And typical fashion, you go up the staircase at the end to fight Dracula. I really enjoyed this game. Castlevania. It makes me want to play Legacy of Darkness, which I don't have.
I only have that as a cartridge.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Legacy of Darkness. That's pretty expensive, right? A pricey game.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's like a remake / a sequel to or a prequel to this game.
It's considered a prequel, but it was made 6 months after.
Yeah.
So this is the original N64.
Oh yeah, there it is.
CIB right
Yeah,
there.
excellent.
For a lot of the stuff, it definitely is CIB. Yeah, so I heard about that, and I heard that they fixed a lot of things in Legacy of Darkness that you're talking about.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I'm really gonna like that one if I get around. I'm thinking about getting a bootleg or a repro of it.
Yeah, it's so much more expensive.
Yeah.
If you like beat 'em up games and fighting games, I'm not huge on them, but you might like this if you're gonna like any of them. It's called Flying Dragon.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, that's the one I can't quite track down.
Okay.
That's a single player beat 'em up or 2 player?
It's like a fighting game, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like with kids who are just like really
Yeah.
I'll give you also a fighting game that you should absolutely avoid if you guys like fighting games. Avoid it forever and always. Beast Wars Transformers.
That would always show up in the dollar bins back in the day at GameStop. I should have gotten it.
Should have picked up as many as you could because this is insanely expensive now.
Oh, really?
Oh no! Oh wow! Yeah. So now I really wish I would.
It's one of the top 10 most expensive.
Oh man!
I don't think I've ever seen one of those.
And it's terrible. It's terrible.
Oh man!
I got my copy. Yeah, it's Transformers Beast Wars Transmetals. I got my copy on a road trip when I was with my friend, and we loved Transformers.
Yeah.
And I found it in a hawk shop for $20.
Oh man!
When we got there, we played it, and I was like, "This is garbage." But I never let go of anything, so
Yeah.
I ended up hanging on to it. I never got the box for it because complete in box Canadian, it's upwards of 600 or something like that, or more than that. So it's a heavy hitter now.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that you're the first international guest on the podcast from the Great White North.
That's it.
Wow.
Canada. You had any more honorable mentions, Tylord, or?
Just not. Nightmare Creatures is pretty good. I never played it on PlayStation, but it's good. It's kind of like a Doom style game, but it's more like hack and slash beat 'em up, like a scary game. Good to play in October. Star Wars Racer. I remember that's like the speed of this game. I always got off on the speed of this one.
That was gonna be one of mine.
Okay.
Was gonna be Star Wars Pod Racer.
And then I've a couple of games I've never played, but I hear they're good. And this one I have it from your guys at Rare, Jet Force Gemini. This looks like this could be the best game ever made, but it doesn't have inverted aim, and that just messes with my mind When I play games like that, I'll get accustomed to that. Then I'll go back to try to play other games. Oh yeah, there you go. Have you played it?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this was part of the precursor to Star Fox Adventures. So there's the game guide as well.
Oh right, yeah.
I'm pretty sure this was like the precursor to Star Fox Adventures, which came
Okay.
out on YouTube. Yeah, apparently it's really good. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's like you land on an alien planet and you're just
Yeah.
harvesting shit.
You done with your honorable mentions?
Yeah, I
Tylord,
think
or
so. Yeah.
what you got, Moxey? Which ones didn't crack the top 5 that were almost there?
Oh, dude, this is super hard. If I have to go like off, if I have to go off of Nintendo, because the easy Nintendo ones are Star Fox. You're looking at Paper Mario. You're looking at Mario Party 2. You're looking at Mario Golf. Like, and then Banjo Kazooie or Banjo Tooie.
Oh right.
You guys are looking at that. You're looking at the Pokemon Stadium games. Do you guys remember Gex? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gex. I used to love Gex.
Only Gex 1 and 3 were on there. Gex 2.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah, they had the Gex with the, so you do kind of have like you have played like a wrestling game, because on the cover he's doing the Stone Cold Steve Austin pose. Gex 2 or 3.
All right. There's obviously like Diddy Kong Racing, which is the other massive competitor racing game that took to flight, driving in karts, and to boats. You had Yoshi's Story. You obviously had like 007 and stuff like that. People really like the game Forsaken 64.
Oh, yes, you haven't played that one.
Is that the one with the female? Yeah, with the female on the cover. I've only seen it. I've never played it though.
1 second. People really liked Hexen as well.
Oh, that was a Doom type game, right?
Yeah, another Doom type game.
Oh, speaking of the Doom 64 was popular, and Turok and
Turok was big. We had 4 Turoks.
Yeah.
On the N64. You had Kirby. Kirby made a reappearance again.
Yeah. Oh, what about Paper Mario?
He mentioned, I think, Paper Mario.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mario Kart, Paper Mario, Mario Party 2.
Yeah, oh that's
Mario,
right. Yeah.
Mario Golf, stuff like that. There was Mario Tennis, but I was never huge on that.
I just played that one for the first time on the Switch. That one's super fun.
That's the new one though. Yeah, I bet it's
no, for on the 64 too. You can play it.
So?
You can play it co-op online.
Oh yeah.
That one's fun.
Game, I haven't played it, but a game that I own, complete in box. Actually, both of these. I'll consider both of these. So let me get them out. And one of them is clearly Wipeout 64.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
I always forget that was on the 64 also. I always thought
of
that as
I always thought that as a PlayStation,
game.
Yeah. And then something that I hear about that is always amazing, but I never get into it, is a game called Mischief Makers.
I've heard of that one. Never played it, but I've heard of that one.
It keeps gaining a lot of traction. Like a lot of traction.
I've heard of it.
The NTSC library for the N64 is only 294 games. It's not a massive library.
Yeah.
I thought I saw 380 something. Is that like for
that's including
Europe?
Japanese games?
Oh, including the Japanese games. Okay.
Yeah. So
it's, even that's not very much.
Yeah, it's a very small library.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it made a big impact for having sub 300 games on a console. Like, imagine the Nintendo Switch was like, we're going to have 300 games and that's it. There'd be no way. It would never fly. Any console today would never fly if it told you it only had 300 games coming out in its entire life cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like nowadays there's a game coming out like every day. Like you
Oh,
can
yeah.
buy a new game digitally every day now.
Yeah.
Easily.
Like with the
So
with
yeah, like,
PlayStation 1. Oh, let's go ahead, Max.
the NES had over 800.
Yeah.
The Super
it's
Nintendo was upwards of like 700. And then it came to Nintendo, and that's where it fell with a lot of third-party support because it didn't go to disc. A lot of people backed off of it, and that's when that number rocketed down for how many it could have. So
Yeah. Like PlayStation 2, like or PlayStation 1, pardon me, has so many games like just there's like 5-star games I've never even heard of. There's so many games on PlayStation 1. Whereas N64, everyone talks about, yeah, there's like 5 good games and the rest is crap. But I would argue that the 5 good games are probably superior to anything on PlayStation. Like we talked about the Zelda games and GoldenEye and our Aki THQ wrestling games.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
that's where it weighs in. That's where it
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
All right, for me, I only have a few surprise wrestling games. Honorable mentions: WCW Revenge for like what Tylord
there it
said
is.
for the
Yeah,
roster.
there it
My
is.
favorite
Yeah.
roster, I think, of any of the wrestling games.
Mhm.
No Mercy, WWE No Mercy. A lot of people say that's the
Yeah.
best wrestling game.
Yeah.
Yeah. GoldenEye, because man, I had a lot of fun playing
Mhm.
GoldenEye. And Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey. I used to love
Wow.
playing that game too.
Apparently, people love that.
It's
Yeah,
fun, man. I think
Wow.
it's three versus 3. It's really fun.
Wow.
I'll get out my GoldenEye.
Yeah. And it's like very arcadey. It almost feels like NBA Jam hockey. There you go. There goes 007.
There's the
Tylord
original
CIB
GoldenEye.
right there.
Yeah, oh there he is. Yeah, that's when I would maybe trade some stuff in to get at the shop.
There you go. There you go. And nobody,
Another
nobody
one we
knew.
haven't. It was on none of our lists, and none of our honorable mentions was Mario 64.
Yeah, I was about
Which
to ask that.
It
Nobody
was like
has
a
64.
revolutionary game, but I never really cared for it. But I respect it. Like it deserves all the credit it gets.
Why not? Why Moxey? Why is it not even an honorable mention?
Oh, it is. Like I said, out
Yeah.
of all the other Nintendos and stuff, it definitely is. It's just I don't know. Everyone's all about it. That's it.
Everyone,
Like
everyone's
all
on its
about
jock.
it. It just kind of everyone doesn't talk about like as if it's got any flaws.
Yeah.
It's always just too highly regarded. It's like it's the masterpiece.
Okay. All right. Well, we went through our list, honorable mentions, but Moxey, you're a first timer on this podcast. Before we finish the podcast, it is tradition around here to play a little trivia game before we wrap up. So we're going to take a little commercial break. You guys need to go use the restroom really quick or grab something to drink. You can do that. We're going to play a little commercial break, come right back and play the trivia game.
Okay, we'll do.
Hey, where'd you get that?
Taco Bell.
It's one of those Nintendo guys, huh?
Donkey Kong.
I see it.
In a minute.
Come on.
Oh, come on, Dad.
All right, guys. We're going to Taco Bell.
Yeah. Nintendo toys, free with a kid's meal and 99 cents with a holiday gift box. The perfect gift for your kids.
Hey, yours is bigger.
I think somebody needs a nap.
Taco Bell. Want some?
Tylord's back.
Oh, what advertisement did I miss?
Taco Bell N64 toys.
What?
Nintendo toys. Yeah, Mario. I didn't even know.
I wish I would have known about that. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't even remember them having
toys.
Taco Bell having toys.
Mm.
All right, we'll wait for him to come back.
There's usually McDonald's that had the Nintendo stuff, or even Burger King did once.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes like when I go to the flea market, I'll find like toys from Jack in the Box and Burger King, like the Universal Monsters, and I'm like, man, For some reason I always forget like the other chains also had toys.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know if that's still a thing.
Wendy's right now, my girls have been getting them. They have like little muscle men, but they're like DC characters, but they look like the old muscle men. And they
The
come with
old
like
school
like
Muscle Men?
3 or 4 in a box.
Yeah, those are awesome. Muscle Man. All right, let me see. I have to open.
Okay, you've got trivia for me?
We got trivia.
This better be good.
All right. All right. All right. We're back from commercials. So, Moxey, you don't know this, but once upon a time, Tylord was undefeated, 8-0. Recently, he's on a bit of a slump. So
Yeah.
the question is, can Moxey keep Tylord down, or will Tylord regain his mojo tonight? We'll see. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna play 10 audio clips, songs from 10 different N64 games. Whoever gets the most right wins. But here are the rules. I'm gonna play the clip. You have to raise your hand. You can't just blurt out the answer. You have to raise your hand. If I see you raise your hand up first, I'll call on you. And you can take a guess. Okay? Another rule, you won't get penalized if you get it wrong, but you can only answer once. Got it?
Okay.
All right. So here we go. First song. I say Tylord.
I don't think it's right, but I was thinking Vigilante 8.
It is not.
I think you're on the right
Vigilante.
track.
I'm gonna keep playing the song so Moxey can keep listening to it.
Is it V2?
It is not. V2. It is Cruisin' USA.
Oh, dude. Yeah, okay. I was just playing that game too.
You're just playing.
Yeah.
All right. Here goes. Next clip. I saw Tylord by a smidge.
That's the game. That's the game we. Oh, did I get it or was it him?
I saw Tylord by a
Okay.
smidge.
Okay.
That's the game we all hate. Mario 64.
Hey, you very good.
That is correct.
No, I don't hate it, but
the game that got no mention at all.
Yeah.
All right. Next clip. I see Moxey.
Star Fox 64.
Oh, right.
Hey, you very good.
All right. Next song. I see Tylord.
Perfect Dark.
Hey, you very good.
Yep.
All right. There we go. That's correct. Next song. I see Tylord.
Is that WrestleMania 2000? Okay. I recognize the song. I just don't know what it is.
You want to keep listening, Moxey, or you want to just take a guess? I can keep playing the rest of it.
No. If it's going to be one of these, I don't know which one it could be. Is it Tony Hawk? It kind of just fits in one of the Tony Hawks.
Tyler gave you a little bit of a tip. It was a wrestling game, but
It was this one.
Then I wouldn't know out of the 10 wrestling games that
It was WWF. No Mercy. Next clip. I see Moxey.
Yeah, Banjo Kazooie.
Hey, you very good.
All right, so far, 2-2. It's a tight one here.
Oh, that's a
All
good
right,
one.
next clip.
No, it's not that.
I see Moxey.
Is it Rush?
It is not Rush. I'm gonna keep playing it, Tyler. There you go. That was it for the clip. You want to take a
man,
guess?
I don't know. Wave Race.
There's so many racing games.
Yeah, Wave Race. Oh, was that it?
It was Wave Race.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, it was. I remember the music was something like that. It's been a long time since I played it.
Next clip. That was it. Anybody want to take a wild guess? You won't get
I don't know, dude.
penalized.
Lego Racers.
Not Lego Racers. Gonna take a wild guess, Tylord?
I don't know. Mega Man 64.
That's incorrect.
Micro
it was
Machines?
Pilot Wings.
Oh yeah, okay. It kind of reminded me of the
It was
original
right
Pilot
here, and
Wings.
I was right here and I looked at it.
Yeah.
I looked at it twice.
Yeah,
They gave me that Pilot Wings, the N60 or the Super Nintendo one vibe. I should have thought it. I forgot there was one on 64.
All right, so there's how many more clips? There's 2 more clips left. So let's go to the next one. I see Tylord.
That's Shadows of the Empire. Yeah, I like that track. It's off of Empire Strikes Back.
All right, there we go. Let me see where are we at here. Next clip. This is the final clip.
I can feel myself playing this game.
Wow, that's a good song.
Oh.
I see Moxey.
That's Pokemon Snap.
Oh man.
Not Pokemon Snap.
No. That
I don't know. Is it? I don't know. The Yoshi's Island or yeah.
It was Paper Mario.
Oh,
64.
that was a good song. It reminded me of that David Bowie song from Labyrinth. As the world falls down. Yeah.
So GG, that was the end of the game. Tylord wins.
Oh wow! I thought I was gonna
4-2.
Oh wow!
That was a good game, right?
I thought I was gonna turn into Barry Horowitz for a while.
So GG, good game. We're gonna take our final commercial break and come back and wrap things up.
All right.
Jingle bells, Santa smells, Christmas really stunk. I got nothing that I like, my gifts were all just junk. Boxes full of clothes, CDs no one knows. When I wanted something for my Nintendo 64, Zelda's great. Turok 2, South Park would be fine. How about Rogue Squadron? That game should be mine.
Make up for a lame Christmas. Get the hits you missed on N64.
Mom and Dad, I'm so sad.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. Thanks for coming back on, Tylord. And thanks for coming on for the first time, Moxey from Moxey Productions. Moxey, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
We only do YouTube. That's basically it. It's just a couple of us who do it. I run the channel, but we have a big group of friends who play Dungeons and Dragons together every Friday night. You can just find me at Moxey Productions and just follow along on YouTube. Hopefully you can find something that passes the time and entertains you.
Yeah, I've had a lot of good times watching him stream.
Yeah, I've watched. He does a lot of variety. Like you said, you do like the Dungeons and Dragons live streams. You live stream video games, Switch games, PS5 games. He also does like collection videos. Yeah, check him out. I'll put a link to his stuff in if you're listening on the audio podcast and the show notes of the episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description. Tyler doesn't want anybody to sub to him or follow him, but go ahead and tell him where they can find you.
Tylord on YouTube. If you want to talk to me, sometimes I stream games. Sometimes I make pickup videos. And Instagram, I'm Tylord79 if you want to talk to me. I usually don't post anything on there, but it's a good way to keep in touch with people.
Yeah, same with Tylord. I'll put all his stuff in the show notes or description. As for me, I'm Retro Tiburon on all the social medias. I also have a website if you want to leave a voicemail, if you want to leave a written message to be played here on the podcast. If you want to buy yourself like a mug or a Retro Tiburon thong, you can do that on retrotiburon.com. Leave me a rating too. Just it'll help out the podcast. I also stream on YouTube, video games, do pickup videos, Retro Tiburon on YouTube. But yeah, that's it, guys. You want to leave us with a quote or something, Moxey? Any final words as we
don't collect N64? Don't do it. It is daunting. It will take years off your life, and it feels like it. It doesn't just look like it. It literally feels like it. Collecting cardboard and manuals for cartridge games is madness. You want to dive yourself into a hole for no good reason? Collect this. Don't collect that. Wow. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, you can't just buy the one console. There's a special edition that's blue, red, orange, clear, black, a Pokemon one, an orange Pokemon one. How many controllers do you want? Do you want a red one, a black one, a see-through purple one, a gray one? What do you want? Don't collect for it. There's too much. There's so much that it doesn't matter. You know what? Do you want a gold cartridge of Legend of Zelda? Do you want a gray cartridge of Legend of Zelda? Dude, the variety on collecting for it is too big. They just did so much that you will fill so much space. Pick what you like, stick with it. You don't need Madden from 97 to 2001. You don't need FIFA from 97 to 2001. Get what you like. Stick to it. Don't do this.
I know, on that note, we'll see you guys on the other side. Later, guys.
Later.